Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pitcrew Podcast, Episode 9. And today I am joined by Dino Blue once again and special guest Vincent 22 Films.
Hello. Great to finally be on here. I meant to be on here for a while, and I just haven't been able to be. So
I think this is a good one to join, though. This is
a special occasion.
Yeah. I can't believe it's 1 year since On the Road came out. It feels weird.
Remember exactly you were watching it?
Yes, I was on a call with Collection TV watching it, and I tried to live stream it, but then the stream crashed by the time I got to the second episode. And I just gave up and just watched it.
I remember I had school at around 7 in the morning on the day that it dropped, so I was trying to scramble through watching as much as I could before I had to start class, but even during first period, I just went on my phone and was watching the rest of the episodes.
So I'm curious. This is because my memory of it specifically ties in with the Queen dying, which notoriously kind of happens on the same day. At least I think.
That's dark.
So
You're not wrong.
no, because I was having such a good morning. I was like, oh my god, guys, did you know the Queen died? And I was just having an amazing couple of events. And then, of course, Cars on the Road came out and had to end all that, because I was having such a good day when the Queen died, but then it became dark when Cars on the Road came out. But so I might be getting the dates wrong. Did she die on the 7th or on the 8th?
I
such a specific
I don't know by heart.
I remember it was the same day. It was the same day. I remember because it was
the exact same day it dropped?
Yes, because I remember that Mater died in one of the episodes. That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
It's a very...
My kind of experience with it was the fact that I don't know if I watched it the night that I knew the Queen had died or this was before, because I distinctly remember that I saw it before it was technically out, because in other time zones it had already been uploaded, and I think, did it come out on a Friday? I don't remember. It either came out on a Friday or a Monday. I literally do not remember, but I was watching it the night before it was supposed to come out because I was able to get access to it through a VPN or something with Disney Plus, and I was like, well, it's out because the score's out, so I can just watch this here now. And so I technically watched it before I don't want to say the rest of the world, because I'm sure other people had seen it by then too, but I did watch it, I guess, technically before it was out in the US, which is a weird thing to say.
I'm pretty sure the show was already out on Disney Plus for a solid 3, maybe 4 hours. I want to go with 3 though, before I was able to watch it because of my time zone and where I'm stationed. So the show was already out 3 hours, which gave people plenty of time to watch it, probably upload clips to YouTube, all that yada yada, even Instagram. So I made sure 100% that I'm watching every single episode before I even open Instagram, I even open YouTube for the day. Because that one suggested video that might pop up in your suggestion spoils something for you, I wasn't having none of that.
YouTube is the worst for spoilers. I don't know why it is, but it's actually genuinely awful. Don't look up anything relating to something if there's going to be spoilers, because you go on YouTube and there's just a million little shitty cam rips.
Yep.
Of just important scenes, and it just says it in the title, and you see it in the thumbnail, and you're like, well, oops, there's no going back.
A great example is I was playing a new Star Wars game that came out this year, and of course a game takes a while to finish. But after I got done, I was about to head to work, I was kind of curious about the soundtrack. I opened the soundtrack, and there's an image of something that spoils the game toward the end. How does that relate to the soundtrack at all? It's so annoying. By the way, Andy...
the thing is, the soundtrack itself can be spoilery too, and that's another thing.
I guess, but it's weird that they put it in the thumbnail.
I listened to the soundtrack of Cars on the Road in full before I watched the episodes, which is another funny thing that happened.
Actually, I did something similar, mainly just the beginning. like the first episode because I was curious what the soundtrack would sound like for Radiator Springs, but NEC left a very, very funny comment. The queen
What
died.
did she say?
The queen died so Mater could live.
That's true. There was a swap there. And I think the Queen has a great deal of respect for Mater, you know, if Cars 2 is anything to go by, because she knighted him, and, you know, he directly saved what could have been the quickest end to her life prematurely.
Yep.
And so because of Mater, the Queen lived another 10, 11, 12 years, you know? And so I think she just wanted to repay the favor.
I also love how this, like, somehow connects Cars 2 for some reason.
Well, I mean, really, Cars on the Road is just Cars 2 with less thought and care put into it, but more emotion. It's trying to do the same thing.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you like Cars 2.
Well, Cars 2 is a much more tightly knit narrative.
I will
You know what
admit. I feel like it's a lot more. I feel like
first of all, they're trying to make a Pixar movie.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
trying to make a Disney Plus show.
I have completely different opinions on Cars 2, but that is something I need to hold in. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Cars. So I guess we should go ahead and...
Well, I mean, with good reason,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Like, I will admit, there's so many, like, flaws, but all the pros, I can name a lot of pros. Francesco, Otis, Francesco.
You keep talking about Francesco. I think you might have a thing for open-wheeled cars.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Radiator Springs. I like they handled Radiator Springs very well. But okay, I guess we can now start getting into talking about.
Yes, take it away in terms of your structure, because you had a
Yes.
lovely structure.
So I'm gonna, basically I'm going to be talking about each episode, like basically just give a little breakdown of each episode, and then we're all just going to give our thoughts about it, and then towards the end we're just going to talk about the whole series as a whole, how it's like structured, how we would change a few things, and then the merchandising. But first, I want to talk about the Radiator Springs portion. Just because I feel like the Dino Park episode and the Radiator Springs portion just feels kind of separate in terms of discussion.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's interesting because it's one of those episodes where, really, it does feel like you're watching two separate episodes, but also they're both so short.
Yeah.
Like, the actual Dino Park section takes place... I don't know, what does it take place, like... Anything that actually happens in the Dino Park that we think, oh yeah, it begins with Mater dreaming. Well, no, it doesn't. It begins like 5 minutes before, and that's like half the runtime.
I know,
So
it's I kind of wish Radiator Springs got its own episode, but that's just because I love Radiator Springs. But basically, the first half, I'm gonna talk about the Radiator Springs portion real quick. It starts with McQueen doing a very awesome scene of practicing around Willie's Butte, even though he's not a racer anymore, but
Well, we like to believe that. Pixar doesn't like to believe that.
and then Mater pops up out of nowhere and says, "Hey, I'm going to my sister's wedding. I will be back. Okay, see ya." And then everyone in town is so confused that they didn't know Mater had a sister, even though they've lived with Mater for like 50 plus years. And actually, probably less than that, but never knew he had a sister. And we get some really cool dialogue scenes between all the townies. And then McQueen asks if he can join him instead, and they are offering to take Mac, who is there, never speaks, and we all cry, and that he doesn't speak. And Mater wants to go on a road trip instead, and then...
I personally cry because the Mac that they use is
Yes.
opening of Cars 3 Mac.
Yes,
It's
that too. All the Mac fans
And
cried
they
out
never
that day.
did that Mac in diecast either, so that's another thing to cry about.
That too, yeah. And then Sally says, you know, you should have fun. McQueen says, I love Mater. That's a lot of Mater. That's what a lot of the Cars 2 haters say. Um,
That's just what the plot of Cars 2 is, though. It's just McQueen saying, I don't know if I want to take Mater on this road trip. And Sally's like, no, you should take Mater on this road trip. And so McQueen takes Mater on the road trip, and he regrets it. And then by the end, he realizes Mater's worth. And that's the entire plot of both things entirely.
It's true. It is actually really true. And then, Ramon says, hey, I'll give you a new paint job. And that's the whole Radiator Springs portion. I'm shocked they gave Ramon a new paint job.
I'm shocked that they... I'm not, to be fair. Every time Ramon appears in something, it's different. Except in... Well, what does he wear in the Tales from Radiator Springs? What paint job does he have in that?
Purple Ramon minus the... if you don't include 5.5, but everyone had a new paint job in that scene.
Well, okay, he actually only appeared in 2 of those 4 shorts, because he didn't appear in Bugs, he didn't appear in Pickups.
Oh, that's right, he did.
Only 5.5, which he was already like gonna have a new paint job because there was a whole occasion with Stanley, so everyone was in their Stanley attire. So they were obviously gonna give Ramon a new paint job because every single townie has something new about them in that episode. And then because the spinning one, I mean, they didn't really need to do any special paint job because he has like a short cameo, so he pretty much just defaulted the purple, which is
their default paint job.
Every single time that they don't put effort into Ramon, they just default his paint job to purple, and that's also from the Pixar Popcorn show.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pixar Popcorn.
Because On the Road is seen as something bigger and was meant to be something bigger, because it was a whole TV show, basically. It had its merchandise toward it, unlike Pixar Popcorn. I think that's why they still gave him a new paint job, because the whole show on its own is a marketing technique, and it's a cool way to market for the next step beyond Cars 3. So I'm not surprised they gave him a new paint job. The only thing I'm not really surprised about is the fact that he has the one line and then he's gone. Like, that's just kind of the typical thing with townies nowadays.
Yeah. I think the only reason I'm a little shocked is just because, I don't know, I feel like Pixar's been...
Shocked. I don't think people are shocked that he got a new paint job. They're more shocked that they were able to come up with a new paint job, because you start to think
True.
They're gonna run out of ideas.
That is true, actually.
Ramon is never going to run out of ideas. He's just got an endless thing. But I mean, if you look, you'll notice patterns where ones start to look more similar. Like this is a lot like his retro paint job, just like with a more orange tint
and so some purple lines.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I like to think. I don't like to think this actually, but it's my excuse for what they do with Ramon. I guess he just defaults to purple. Like whenever he himself is feeling lazy, he'll just put on the purple. And all of
the Mater's Tall Tale shorts, except for one, he always has purple.
Yeah. Well,
there was one odd short in there for whatever reason, where they gave him the green Ramon paint job, which I don't mind spicing it up.
It's the best paint job ever in existence, so...
But it's not Ramon green.
Oh,
it's
true.
Ramon, but it's not Ramon
true.
green.
True.
So, I don't know.
But, it was also cool to see, like, Flo and Luigi and Guido and, like, Fillmore have more lines than they usually would. Ironically, Fillmore has more lines in this 5-minute opening than he does in Cars 3.
That's funny. I figured as much.
Flo does too, right?
I think it's close. Might be the same. I counted every single line from the townies in Cars 3.
That's so deliberate. I love that.
Well, let me find the list now.
In Cars 3, literally the only lines I remember of Flo, I'm sure she had probably 1 or 2 more, but the only one I really remember is when she was talking to Rusty and Dusty on the phone, before McQueen showed up.
Yeah.
Here we go. I knew it went out, literally everything went out for just 2 seconds and then it all came back on.
So, I'm gonna trust that it's working.
I'm trying to...
Can ask if it's...
Okay, yep, nope, it's working. It's working. Wow.
Okay.
Okay. I'm shocked that it's working.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying before we got cut off.
But we were talking about the townies,
It
I
was
think.
something around the Radiator Springs 500 and a half short.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking about the reason why they scaled up the planes. You know, because, or not the planes themselves. They scaled down the planes to fit in the planes packaging, but they scaled up all the cars because they weren't going to change the packaging style.
Oh, that's weird. I always found that weird, but...
Yeah. Well, because we were talking... Yeah. Because Jacob had brought up the fact that, you know, they weren't selling Radiator Springs 500 and a half or short stuff in, like, single packaging. They only sold it in the kind of deluxe stuff. So that's why stuff like Luigi and Guido didn't get made. And I was saying, well, that's why other things that are smaller in the Planes line also didn't get made.
It's actually a really good
point.
point.
They had to make it big to fit the Planes packaging, because it was all, like, one-and-done style.
That's actually a really good point, because Ramon was in, like, a guest pack, not a single.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But without the gift pack, you know, that's another...
It wouldn't have gotten made.
Accommodating something else to get out. It's like the Circus Thumb biplane. They did that one in the gift pack because they really didn't have any other choice once they did it on pack.
But, more things about the whole Radiator Springs scene. I love the Willie's Butte scene.
For the animation,
Yeah.
especially.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
kind of it's kind of nice that we have like 3 different eras of Willie's Butte animation. We have 2006, 2011, 2017, and now 2023 or 2022. My bad.
Also, McQueen's in his Cars 3 paint job. Yay. I don't like well, I kind of like it.
Either.
I kind of like it, but it's starting to get overdone. Like, I liked it in Cars 3, and it was okay for a while, but, like, I don't know. I like the Fabulous paint job, but...
You know that McQueen, that Cars 3 paint job, it is a lot less used than people actually think.
Oh,
like,
no, you're right. You're right.
True.
Actually, you're right, because literally more than half the movie is spent with the Rusty's Racing Center.
That's true. That is true.
No, because like in Cars 3, right, he has that paint job first, right? He doesn't get it until Ramon paints him right before he leaves the Rusty's Racing Center, and then he goes to the Racing Center on day one and he wrap.
Yeah.
And then the wrap doesn't come off until he's racing in
like
Black
50 minutes into
Forest.
the movie, at least. Then it comes off again.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ending scene, he has the Fabulous McQueen paint job. So he's not really in the Cars 3. You know, I find it ironic because that's the one they chose to label as, you know, the Cars
3 McQueen.
That is really not the main paint job at all.
It's even on the promotional material.
Yeah, it's interesting that the main paint job is the suit that rips off. I kind of like that. It's not, like, used that way in the promotional material, but I know it is. So when I think of, like, main variants, I'm like, okay, Cars 1 McQueen, Cars 2 McQueen, World Grand Prix, and Cars 3 McQueen is the suit, but no one wants to say that.
And of course it was used...
Obviously the Radiator Springs scene was rushed. I mean, there's no debate about that.
The whole show.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, Radiator Springs is pretty rushed. But
yeah.
It's just because they still wanted it, but they just crammed it into the first episode. Because when you don't make the first episode about Radiator Springs and you go to the Dino Park within that episode, it's gonna be rushed regardless. You kind of have to take what you can get with it. So, I mean, I didn't expect anything like less. That's the way I view it. Like, I got what I expected. I'm not saying I'm happy with that, but I got what I expected. Like, it wasn't anything more or anything less than what I expected. I appreciated some of the lines, at least. That was the least I could ask for. Like, I appreciated Flo's lines because I don't feel like Flo, especially after Cars 3, you know, Flo needed some better service, so.
True. Something to think about. I don't know if you noticed, Vincent, but in the ending of Cars 3, Flo is neither at Radiator Springs nor in Florida 500.
What?
Yeah.
Well, no, she's at the very end, like the final scene when McQueen reveals his fabulous paint job.
So okay, so wait. Wait. So who? So okay. So at Cars 3, she's not at Radiator Springs in the final race
No.
because isn't Sally at the Florida race?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
And
won.
so Flo. So wait, who's back at Radiator Springs? I know Lizzie's there. and
Sheriff.
Red is there.
Sheriff,
Sheriff.
Lizzie, and Red.
So okay. So the only reason that Flo is not there is so that they could have their girl power moment be with the 182-year-old woman, which is bizarre to me now that I'm realizing it. Because what they did is they did 3 sets of 3. 3 sets, well, actually, I guess maybe 4. No, I'm just going to go say 3 sets of 3, which has 2 men and 1 woman. And that's obviously River Scott and Junior Moon, and then Louise Nash, so they focus on Louise. And then Daryl Cartrip and Bob Cutlass, and they focus on Natalie Certain, right? And so I assume they must have been going for the same thing with Sheriff, Red, and Lizzie. But why they chose Lizzie over Flo, and specifically booted Flo out for that scene, presumably for that same purpose, is really funny to me. So thank you for for having me come to that conclusion.
No, I think
Yep.
Flo was, like, me personally, I think Flo was definitely meant to be at the Florida 500. I mean, in
Yeah.
the scene, that Flo was at the Florida 500, so she was definitely meant to be there. I'm going to give the lazy answer because I wouldn't be surprised. I generally just think that they didn't think about Flo when they were making the ending scene. Because let's not forget, right? The ending scene was very last minute in the grand context of making a movie, right? That
It
whole
was. They changed a lot.
that got early in production more than people think. Because on the back of some early Cars 3 packages, on the back there's a stock image of Fabulous McQueen, but with the Dynaco logo on the hood. So like Mattel was already
Whoa!
Yeah.
one and everything.
Whoa! I'm
Yeah.
gonna need to look that up. That's
So my point is that the whole ending, right? That was like probably one of the very last decisions they took upon when animating Cars 3. I mean, so that whole process was probably one of the last things they did. So I wouldn't be shocked if in the midst of doing all that, they just didn't think about adding Flo in the animation. Because all they had to do really was animate Flo in the background of some of the scenes, right? Like they did with Sarge, pretty much.
I'm still
But Flo
annoyed.
was- So the way I see it, I personally just think they literally just didn't think about animating Flo, which is stupid, right? And pathetic, but that's just the way I see it.
I'm still annoyed that
Yeah.
they didn't use Mia and Tia for the girl power scene.
well. I mean, okay. Can you really blame them?
I mean,
Can you really blame them for not using Mia and Tia for a girl power moment?
I really like Mia and Tia, and I'm still annoyed. I'm just annoyed they're not in the movie.
That's very fair, but think about, like, I don't know, man. I feel like, you know, their beauty, it's just gone downhill as they age, you know? I think they just couldn't put them in, you know?
Fair. I thought I had a funny.
Because they wanted a-
I think a funny running
I mean, it's
gag.
so obvious, right? It's so obvious that they replaced Mia and Tia with Maddie McGear. And me personally, I just don't see why those two worlds couldn't coexist. Like, why couldn't you add Maddie McGear, maybe like a one-off, maybe even a two-off scene, but still have Mia and Tia in there somewhere? I didn't really think it had to be a case of Maddie McGear is the new Mia and Tia. So because Maddie McGear is there now, you just cut off Mia and Tia because it's pretty much a direct replacement almost.
Some of that, yeah. Now,
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't know. Again, it's a hard debate to say in terms of why they chose what could coexist and what couldn't, because the flow thing is tripping me out.
whenever I made Cars 3 written, sadly never got released. In that version, Minnie and Van were gonna be Maddie McGear's parents.
Oh, that's cute.
I thought that would have been a good way to kind of bring them back, and it would
I like that.
in a way that made sense. But instead, not her. Maddie McGear's mom is just a random background model.
And now they're just not in the movie at all, which, you know, hooray! Cars 3 does so much more for the universe than Cars 2. Kidding.
As much as I do like Cars 3, but like those problems, those very big nitpick things, just Okay, we should probably talk about the Dino Park episode.
We need to talk about the Cars on the Road, not Cars 3.
Yes. So.
Yeah, once Cars 3 hits its
Okay.
5-year anniversary, then we can talk about it.
Okay, actually, so Annie
It's already hit that 5-year
is
anniversary.
saying something interesting here about how it should not be a suit, and that's painful. Well, consider the fact that it's pretty much implied that, like, you know, the President Mater outfit and the Deputy Hazard outfit are also suits, because they're like, drop them off at wardrobe.
Oh my gosh, I never
It's
thought
like,
about
how
that.
are they supposed to do that? So they're definitely the same type of suit technology.
I always thought of it as like makeup or something. Like not paint, but like.
Yeah, true, but how would they return makeup that's on their body, you know?
I guess the president's sign that's on the side of Mater and McQueen's little siren.
And the siren, yeah.
I guess,
but it's still bizarre.
yeah. I think the fact that they're wraps actually make a lot more sense considering how, you know, because logically, let's say the blue paint is actually paint. Yeah, there's no way that would make sense for Mater to be Rusty the next episode. But
That's true.
But okay, onto the Dino Park episode. So the Dino portion starts off with McQueen and Mater. McQueen finally addressing that why he's never mentioned his sister, even though this episode obviously takes place a few days after they already left, considering the flashback they had of all the other stops they went to before, which makes no sense. But they go to the Dino Park and we find out that McQueen is really into dinosaurs after watching a lot of dino. I guess documentaries, presumably when he's on his way to the races, to obviously train crews because he's in his Cars 3 paint job and to be his, yeah, makes sense. And then
In the Cars 3 opening Mac trailer. Sorry, we can't keep going over this. We have to move past the nitpicks. Like,
I know.
We really do.
I know. To be fair, we see that's the inside of it, so that scene takes place inside. And then of course we see them go inside, and Mater watches a little stop motion scene of the dinosaur. I really like the stop motion part. And then Mater falls asleep and has a daydream about being in the dinosaur world, like a tall tale. And then wakes and then almost gets eaten by 2 dinosaurs, and then wakes up, and then all the children laugh. The children that, by the way, are the same model as the Mateo, or I don't know, whichever one Mater's sister's marrying. But and then they go off.
You say this as if she's marrying multiple people. I don't know what you meant by that.
The kids that are laughing at Mater in the scene are like the same model as Mater's sister's marrying Mateo?
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
Yeah, Mateo is the same model as those kids. I just find it
bizarre. Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird choice. But yeah, and then they drive off onto their next adventure.
So I think I'm gonna be just kind of really harping on everything that has to do with the arc here, because that's, to me, what's most important about storytelling. So I guess when you were saying that, I kind of realized kind of an important component of Mater's dream is the fact that he's saving Lightning, you know? So really, this is a situation where Lightning knows more than him here. And so if we're going to tie this back to the idea of Mater feeling like he's never enough, you know, especially with his sister, right? Then this is a situation where Mater's kind of out of his depth, and he's kind of trying to play it off, you know? Because McQueen knows all these big fancy words that Mater just falls asleep to. But Mater, in his dreams, is still kind of trying to, you know, I guess, to save McQueen. So it's like, oh, he doesn't know all this stuff that McQueen knows, but he's still dreaming that, oh, maybe he'll be able to save him. And you never find out the conclusion to that, which I think is kind of a you know, a haunting kind of prologue to all that stuff, because I think obviously McQueen and Mater have their own share of ups and downs throughout the series, and that's kind of an interesting way to lead into that with what Mater's psyche is already telling him.
I actually never really thought of it that way. Although I find it funny how In the Tall Tales, McQueen's always the one in danger.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just made me thought of that. But
Most of them, but not the one.
a majority, sure.
He really has a savior complex for saving his best friend.
Yeah.
I think it's probably just because McQueen is a race car. Mater wants to be something for someone who has everything.
True.
It's interesting.
I definitely caught on to that. That's what they were trying to do in later episodes. I never really thought of it in that way in this episode, though. I always thought of it as like a silly daydream. I always think of it as a silly little daydream scene. But in terms of the dinosaurs' designs, I think they're kind of cool, but I don't like the idea of the dinosaurs being mechanical. I always thought it would be cool if the dinosaurs were actually like normal design. It's just the cars themselves are the things that look different. I don't know.
Well, what do you mean by that?
So I saw a fun theory that the dinosaurs, this was before Cars on the Road came out, the dinosaurs are the only thing that stayed the same in terms of human world. It's just that the caveman being cars, and this is mainly from it's an old time travel made or deleted short. It was before the official one came out, but there was an original.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And basically the cavemen were just wheels, actual wheels.
That's funny.
and but the dinosaurs were still normal looking. And in fact, in the commentary, they said that it was supposed to replicate the Dinoco dinosaur.
Well, I'm looking at Jacob's profile picture right now, and I'm seeing the Dinoco dinosaur, and I'm like, well, that's not how they look, clearly.
Yeah. But
I didn't mean to talk to you, Jacob. You wanted to...
That's fine. Oh yeah, I just remember what I was gonna say. So, yeah, but you know how you said that the storyboard parts of the original Mater's Tall Tale deleted scene, where that was gonna include in the time travel Mater short and deleted concepts, he was gonna go to the dinosaur period in the time travel.
Mm-hmm.
I know the dinosaurs there look very similar to real dinosaurs that people are accustomed to, that they probably see in books and movies and stuff. Not like a carified dinosaur, but the ones, you remember the very early pictures we saw of early production of Cars on the Road? One of them was of the dinosaurs, and it was just kind of colored over. They also look like regular dinosaurs, just with tiny wheels on their arms, and they definitely didn't end up being like that. They look more like dinosaurs than carified dinosaurs. And then the final product, they actually did kind of look like carified dinosaurs more. I think it's just a part of the concept art that they look like normal dinosaurs, because that's what they base them off of. Obviously, they're not going to go through the full effort of making them carified in a storyboard.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I just find it weird that the dinosaurs are car. I don't know. It just feels weird. I don't know why it does.
I think the dinosaur episode is one that at first you're like, this is kind of goofy. I don't know how I feel about this episode. I think as it ages, it gets a little better. That's just my personal opinion. That's how I view the episode, mostly because it's not like the dinosaurs is a new concept in the Cars universe, and that's something that I can appreciate about it. I'm glad that it isn't just this new concept that is just sprung on us like nothing. The dinosaur concept in general is mentioned throughout the franchise in bits.
True.
Obviously the biggest elephant in the room is the Dinoco logo itself with the dinosaur on it. But mainly in Cars 2, there is a scene where they literally talk about the dinosaurs. And what I like personally, I like how this kind of ties in. I always like when projects tie into something that happened in the past. So in Cars 2, when Miles mentions the dinosaurs and he says we all know what happened to them, and then Mater asks Luigi what happens to the dinosaurs now, it kind of shows that his lack of knowledge of dinosaurs, which kind of ties into that episode. So I do kind of like that.
I also like how McQueen is really into dinosaurs, kind of tying into him wanting to be Dinoco.
I think there's a lot of really great things that this series does, especially for McQueen's character, by making him kind of nerdy. That I think is great, and this is one of them. I didn't know about the connection with Cars 2. I hadn't thought about that before. That's actually really cool.
I know, I like that parallel because the dinosaurs was also mentioned in Cars 2 very briefly, but I just mainly how in Cars 2, Mater literally asked Luigi what happened to the dinosaurs, kind of like showing that he is clueless about dinosaurs. Like
he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that ties in perfectly with on the road.
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of doing the review part of this now.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like what we thought, because I think Jacob kind of gave his thoughts on it.
Yeah. It's definitely not my favorite episode by any means, but it's kind of in like if I was ranking them, right? I think the Dino Park episode would be like somewhere like in the middle. Mm-hmm. It's not a horrible episode. It's definitely not one of the best, but it's a good episode. I won't say anything more than that.
I think it still needs to grow on me a little more because I'm still in the very like, okay, it's a very early game. There's not really a lot happening. It's kind of goofy. I love the tribute to stop motion.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, it is what it is, and it's funny because you look at like the dinosaur and you just look at the Quadratorcosaur and you're like, wow, they did not get this color right on the diecast, but that's a whole different story.
Well, yeah, that's Mattel's doing, not Pixar's doing.
Yeah.
That.
I like the design of the Dino Park. I don't know, I just think it's a really cool design place.
I think it objectively looks way better than the Thomas Dino Park in season 18, which is a side tangent, but oh my god, you know, really boring looking. This place looks cooler.
I don't know why you just you're right. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, isn't it just like two dinosaurs in a volcano?
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, I love the stop motion aspect. I feel like the thing that brings the episode back is it can go both ways. I feel like the Radiator Springs holds both the Radiator Springs portion back and the Dino Park. Like, if you want to watch the Dino Park episode, I feel like you're just going to be distracted by the Radiator Springs part, and if you want to watch the Radiator Springs part, you're kind of distracted by the Dino Park parts.
That's fair.
I think they should have just separated them both. Also, something else about that I don't know why this drives me crazy, but the fact that McQueen is finally mentioning Mater's sister, like after the intro plays. You know, it kind of feels like, oh yeah, they just left Radiator Springs, even though they're clearly not in a desert area. And also the fact that they have already been to various locations. Like, I feel like you would have brought this up right as you left.
Yeah, I know that there's like a lot of like stuff that they kind of did that's kind of out of the way, and that's the point of a road trip. But I do just want to highlight how funny it is that Fillmore's like, oh, you gotta stop at the Trees of Mystery, and it's like, the Trees of Mystery is west of where you are, and you want to go east. Like, why would you stop at the Trees of Mystery?
That's something. That's something.
Fair. I mean, to be fair, right? Fillmore might have been like, you know, doing his thing, if you know what I mean.
High.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He might have been high.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like,
that's actually another
Mystery,
complaint. That's actually another complaint about the whole series, really, is that they say all of these places, like New Orleans and stuff, and they never go there.
Okay, listen, I personally, that's like a minor complaint. I agree. Like, at least one of the places, I was kind of disappointed almost, that, like, because it was mainly Fillmore, Luigi, Guido, and Flo. I think those are the four that, like, actually gave suggestions of Mater on where to stop by. I kind of wish that at least one of them they actually stopped to, so it kind of ties in. Like, for example, when Flo suggests to stop for, like, jazz in New Orleans, for example, maybe not even in New Orleans, but just, like, stop for jazz, it would have been so cool if they actually did an episode where they did stop for, like, jazz music, and it kind of ties in because they literally just took Flo's suggestion with them.
That's a great idea, actually.
As someone
that would have been cool.
Who used to live near New Orleans and went there all the time, I would have loved to see New Orleans carified.
I assume the carified version would be New Orleans or something stupid like that.
New Orleans. Yeah? I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say about the episode.
We move on.
Do we talk about
Yeah,
do we talk about their looks or?
Oh man. So if we get too much into design questions, I think we're just going to end up talking about the diecast line. So I guess we should maybe move on. I don't really know if I want to delve into the concept of like, does McQueen have scales like the Tokyo version, or like is that rock? Like I don't. That's too much, man. You know?
Okay,
but
I
like the Flintstones wheels. That's funny.
Yeah, the wheels are funny. I do want to talk about McQueen's on the road design though.
Okay, that's actually very valid. We can talk about that.
Because it's I remember like people really hated the design when it first got leaked. How people said it was so basic,
too.
But I kind of like the basic look.
I think what people really minded was the fact that on his hood it literally says "on the road" and it's just so on the nose. I get it. Like I totally get why. Like I understood why. Like it's just good for marketing. Like it's good to market like on the road on him. If they didn't put it probably wouldn't like be a good marketing technique because people wouldn't recognize it as easily. Whereas if you literally just put "on the road" just blatantly in front of everyone's face, people will know what it is. Like, oh yeah, that's from "On the Road." So it's for a marketing standpoint. I understand why they did it. I was just telling myself before, because this obviously we knew that paint job before the show came out. I was always saying, I really hope in the show they give a solid reason as to why it literally says "on the road" in his hood. Like I hope that they're able to the reason where it's sensible, where I can get along with it. And unfortunately, we didn't really get that. But
yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, I understand why it says "on the road." It's just a bit. It's just I know it's on the nose. It's really on the nose, but I understand for a marketing standpoint why they just slapped it on there.
I mean, the bigger question is why is the series called Cars on the Road? That's just such a dumb title. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
Cars Road Trip, maybe?
I don't know.
Because the song is catchy.
Cars on the Highway. I don't know.
I wish there was.
Catchy.
Yeah, definitely. The intro is also really. Yeah, I feel like the intro should also be talked about, but yeah, the song is also really catchy. I kind of wish his design had more. I don't know, some sort of reference, maybe like give him white walls, maybe the bumper stickers Lizzie gave.
Oh, that would have been cute.
Something like that, but yeah, I do like the. I like how simple it is though, because. Like people were saying, like why doesn't he have sponsors or the light people? Like he's not racing; he's just going on a road trip.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I grew to like it a lot. I guess I don't know. I think maybe this is time for a segue, but I love the diecast, the second version, not the first version.
The first version didn't help because that's when it was first leaked.
Yeah. And I like the second version a lot better, and that made me like the livery a lot more. And whenever I see that diecast, it makes me think of Lights Out, which was my segue. And that's a scene or / episode that I really think the livery kind of works in. I don't know why. Just I kind of like the way it looks in that episode.
The Lights Out episode, in my opinion, is probably in my top 3 favorite episodes. I think the main reason why I really love Lights Out is because it kind of dives into a realm of the Cars universe that we don't explore too much, and that's kind of like, you know, the dark horror vibes, and I really like love seeing that like in Cars form, because like I said, it's not something that we've ever really explored before. I mean, the closest thing that we got to some sort of horror-esque vibe was Mater and the Ghostlight, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. That's actually very true.
There, like in Radiator Springs 5.5, when they go through the forest at night, yeah, like in a scene, but like in terms of like something on its own, I just love the horror vibe to it. Like, this
is just sheer. I mean, there's a lot of really great horror nods.
Oh yeah, to The Shining
and stuff like that. But it's also very like camp. You know, it's very classic Disneyland. Really, when I think about it, I think about Randy's voice. It's such this Vincent Price-esque.
It reminds me.
Scratch sound voice.
I bet Pixar was so disappointed that they already did Steve Herschel like as a diecast before.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, he's literally voiced by Steve Herschel, but Steve Herschel, the hearse before Randy, was obviously named after Steve Herschel. But I bet they were so like frustrated with themselves because like if they just waited like a few more years, they had to name him something different because there was already a Steve Herschel. They couldn't name this one the same thing.
Yeah,
so
that's very clever.
I think that if Steve Herschel didn't exist, I think Randy literally would have been called Steve.
It's a good theory. I like that.
I do like you were saying, the voice. It reminds me of Haunted Mansion as well. Like the whole ballroom dance scene with the ghosts.
Oh, absolutely. That's high Haunted Mansion. You know, that's very much exactly what that is, and it's very nice. It's cozy. It's that kind of uncanny horror that is kind of both spooky and also just fun. You know.
Mm-hmm. I also love like the ghosts that they chose. Like this is the tractor. I just find that so random.
I love when the door opens and the tractor just looks at McQueen. And I love that we're getting that tractor. That's my
It better
favorite
have
thing.
that expression. By the way, Jacob, I remember you were talking about that expression. I know which one you're talking about now.
Which expression?
You said it better have like that shocked expression when he sees McQueen in the last episode.
Oh yeah.
I also love the Wraith Rod.
That needs to come out as a diecast.
And
Oh.
yes.
If it comes out as a diecast with like green flames and everything, I think that would generally be like in the top 20 of my favorite diecasts of all time.
I feel like it will get made, but I feel like it's the last thing on their priority list to get made in terms of deluxes. It's kind of a sad situation with that. Because I feel like it kind of will. I feel like it's cool enough to be, and so specific enough to be like, this might actually happen. But like, you know, Clutch, the RV, you know, Super Speed Mater, you know, heck, even Captain Longleg, I can all see being more like, oh, they justify releasing this.
You know something that's actually really funny? Wraith Rod has 2 different voice actors.
That's true.
And one of his actors is literally Steve Purcell himself, so he technically voiced Randy and Wraith Rod.
And then the guy who did the soundtracks for the show did like the little bum 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 part.
Yeah.
I just find that really funny.
The kind of bird is the word type of riff. There. Yeah.
Also, I think one of the bigger takeaway points of the episode too, which I really appreciate. I love how this episode is focused on McQueen, cause
yeah,
I was really glad they chose McQueen, because obviously they could have gone with either McQueen or Mater to go through that whole like pretty much haunted mansion. Like, let's be real, that's a haunted mansion / hotel. I'm glad they chose McQueen, because most of the series is centered around Mater more so than McQueen, because the whole journey is obviously Mater's sister's wedding. So I'm glad that they were able to put in an episode there where it's like mainly focused on McQueen, and I found it like really fun to see him go through the whole place and see all these ghosts, and like I said, I'm just here for the horror vibes. Like I'm really here for the horror vibes.
I'm just pleased in general that the series managed to balance McQueen and Mater so well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, there's so much where we follow McQueen, or we do stuff with McQueen. We learn he's a dinosaur nut, when we learn he's scared of clowns, when, you know, we follow his perspective in the Cryptid Buster thing instead of Mater's. Like, that could have also been a Mater episode as well, but we followed McQueen in that. That's just a lot of little nice things that it's like, oh, it's kind of balanced and you see both sides, which I kind of brings me to like kind of how I was thinking about how I might do it a little bit differently, which I'll talk about at the end after we talk about all the episodes. But yeah, I mean, I like Lights Out. I think it's also probably in the top 3 or so for me.
Yeah,
maybe.
same.
Yes,
I love the
probably,
antifreeze
I think
joke.
I know, me too. I think I love that so much. It's really great. It doesn't have a lot of like overall relevance to the arc, which is usually what I like, but it's just too good. It's just such a great send-up of properties and fun stuff.
I think
People forget this is the first Cars project. I think I'm pretty positive on this. I'm pretty sure it's the first Cars project where they animated rain, right?
No, Cars 3.
Yeah, I know, but like rain on the cars, where like it's the detail of the rain on the cars.
Does planes count?
No.
Okay.
That's a good
then
question.
then yeah, that's actually true because
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Mac is like under the bridge. We don't really see him driving. I think there's like one car on
Yeah.
top of the bridge, but first time we see rain on Lightning McQueen, that's for sure, which is actually kind of weird to
Yeah.
think about. By the way, I love that opening segment. How like Mater's like saying we should probably stop by. It's about to rain, and like McQueen says no, it's fine, and then it just cuts to it raining. I thought that was a funny gag. I also
No,
love the gag.
I think it was a good. I do think it was a good use of humor. I like how like it was a straight. I like how it was a straight like cutoff. Like the next frame is like all the
Yeah.
rain. It's like Cars 1 when McQueen says I'll stay up with you, and then it's not like a direct transition to him sleeping. It's just a cut, and literally the next frame is him just snoring away.
Yep.
I like.
Yeah.
I like how they used that in the episode. I think
They
added
even
some
do it
humor up.
again when a Mater is like super scared and is probably not going to sleep, and then we just cut to him sleeping, and then it pans to
Yeah,
McQueen and
that's
he's
true.
scared out of his mind. The humor in this is also. I feel like this is the funniest short in my opinion,
It's pretty funny. It's
I-
pretty good.
and the Shining jokes. Like I knew they were gonna do Shining jokes, but like I'm surprised how far they went with it, with like the race car
Yeah.
joke in the mirror, and like obviously the twins.
That one's really good. You can tell they just had so much fun.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
Like, okay, it's a palindrome. Let's throw this in there.
And then
And also one of the small funny parts that I'm so happy they included, because I like when they also reference the fact that these are cars and they also respect their own limitations. I like when they really focus on that. I love when McQueen first got scared by Lisa and Louise, the ghost twins, and he tried to turn around and he can't do it properly because they are in a narrow hallway. So he kept having to reverse and then go front and reverse to keep like slowly inching his way
Yeah,
because into a
very good scene.
Okay, so Annie
Funny
see
guy.
that there was the blood reference. Is that actually blood? I mean, it can't be blood because there is no blood in cars. But
Well, no, there's no blood in like vehicles, but
Yeah.
that episode pretty much confirmed what is the signal of blood in the Cars universe.
antifreeze.
Well, I mean, that's like saying that oil is, food and piss and all these things that it is. So it could be anything.
I love how the soundtrack reminded me of Finn McMissile's theme.
It's fun.
Please tell me no one else, if everyone else felt it too, right? Like, or heard it.
No, when I think about it, I think what you're picking up on is like the guitar and drums.
Yeah.
Like when he's running.
But like, it sounds
It is
very
called that.
similar
Also,
to Finn's theme.
I think Lights Out is that also up there with like one of the better soundtracks of the show.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
episode by
Yeah.
episode.
I feel like
Really
there's a lot of cool. I don't. Okay, I was about to say I think it has a lot of the cool shots, but I think there's one more short that has a little bit better in terms of shots.
Well, I'm curious to find out what that is, and I guess with that, I don't really have too much more to say about this episode. I think
Yes, it's
I
fun.
think it's good. It's top quality, and they need to make Wraith Rod minis as well, so we can recreate the scene of the, the little
yeah.
ones.
The one time I hope minis do a car before the diecast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we go into everyone's. I feel like the most talked about short from On the Road is Salt Fever.
I feel like it's the only reason it's talked about the most is because it was the most marketed.
That too.
Because the super speed Mater is the first image we saw from the show. That image of Mater in that variant is the very first thing we ever saw fully rendered from that show months before.
Yeah.
So the very first clip that ever dropped from Pixar itself was from that episode.
Right, and also the most diecasts have been released from that short as well. So
Yeah, that
Except
makes
for
sense.
the one we've
The
seen the
only
most.
short that actually focuses on the idea of racing still.
mm-hmm.
Racing in general is like the best marketing technique for cars because it's racing. Pretty much
Yeah.
like besides Radiator Springs, right? The second thing that cars derived upon was racing. So
Mhm.
anything that involves racing is gonna sell well. So they
Yeah.
definitely capitalized on it.
I mean,
And I
also
think-
the fact that this was originally going to be in Cars 3.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is I also think they probably really wanted to push it because they were like, "Oh, we wanted to do something like this," so
It was
they
after watching
ended up doing it.
that I really, it was after I watched the episode, after a few times where I thought to myself, like, why didn't they try out this location in Cars 3? Like, I feel like it would have fit perfectly.
Okay, I actually do have a comment regarding that, and I'm not sure where they would have put it in Cars 3, but I think it would have worked. And here's my reasoning why. I'm gonna talk about Cars 3, so just buckle up. I'm gonna try not to go on too long, but my view of Cruz's arc in the movie is that she was someone who always wanted to be a racer, but when she got to the track, she didn't feel welcomed. She didn't feel like she could do it. She didn't feel like she could cut it. She was different than the others. And if you look at the Piston Cup is a very uniform, genre of racing. Basically, there's only a couple stock car bodies, and they're reused to infinity, and those are the cars.
Yep.
And then when those go out of style, they get replaced. And that's what happened to McQueen. He got entirely replaced by all the next gens, and all his friends did. So he's the only one that's entirely out of place, just like how Cruz was, right? So they're both basically fish out of water in what's basically a very uniform, conformist sport with racing, right? So the demo derby is the first thing that they end up doing besides racing on the beach, and it's an absolute free-for-all. There's literally cars of all different types and sizes, and they're all just going ham at each other. And it's really, like, I think kind of perfect that Cruz's first win is at the demo derby, because it's a group full of cars that are different. They don't conform, and of course also I think it should be noted that there's a very high percentage of like a gender balance in terms of the Thunder Hollow guys in comparison to the Piston Cup, which has maybe one or two women occasionally, but
I don't think there's any next gens to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think there are.
Which I think they probably wrote
either, but
for
exactly. I think that's intentional, and I think that's why I like the demo derby so much, because it's such this eclectic mix of everything, and it ends up being kind of beautiful, because this is where Cruz gets her first win, because everyone there is different. Like, she was different in the Piston Cup, and now everyone's different. And I think Salt Flats hits the same niche, because Salt Flats is also just a
very
group of really
different
tag racers. Yes, it's very different. There's a high, percentage of women racers as well, if certain names are to be believed, but it's really confusing. But I won't get into that. But there's, again, as McQueen goes through the divisions, we see there's imports, there's classic rods, there's special constructions, there's trucks, and there's whatever Peggy Liner is. And it's like,
a pencil.
Exactly. It's an entire beautiful subculture of racers that have found their own way to race differently, like the Thunder Hollow Demo Derby. And so if it was in Cars 3, I bet it would take a similar role.
Yeah, definitely. I think
I
probably would have fit better in Cars 3. I think what they probably would have done was... Huh?
You mean like then in Cars on the Road?
Yes, and I say that because I have a feeling like we see a bunch of old cars that most likely race with Doc. And maybe
that's a good point.
They could have tied that into Thomasville a little bit.
That is a good point, yeah.
And the reason I also say I think the Demolition Derby would also fit better on the road is because I feel like I want to see Mater in the Demolition Derby.
I agree, that would have been very fun.
I mean, they even put it in the end credits for Cars 3. In the picture scene.
Yeah.
But
I think I like both divisions of racing. I say that because they basically are their own little subdivisions.
Yeah.
And they're both incredibly wacky.
Definitely.
And I think it's cool to see stuff like that, because we're so used to seeing stock cars and next gens that are all the same.
I'm really getting tired of next gens and stock cars.
Yeah.
That's mainly due to the diecast's fault, but But I do like seeing unique
Well,
cars.
I bet you're really excited for next year.
Nope. I love the design. I think this is another thing why I love this short is because we haven't talked about this yet about the show, but the reused models are crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, Xanadu Bumpers is there, Broadside and Bill and Fishtail.
Rusty is there. Van is there.
Yeah, yeah. What's the reporter's name that's just there? Biz Torkson. Or
Yeah.
whatever, that one Super Chase reporter that's just literally there, no changes at all.
And there's a lot more. I mean, in the last episode we just watched, Guido and Minnie were there.
Yeah.
That's why I love this short is because there is a lot of unique models in this.
Yes, exactly. There's so much uniqueness, and I didn't really like it at first when like images of like Revo Koss and Dots Jamin
A lot of people
came
didn't.
out. I was like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But now
I think they all look good
I'm
together.
forward to it. Yeah, in context, it's nice.
And I
Yeah, but
like.
without context, it looks like a cheap knockoff of Jackson Storm and
It does.
That's
It-
what everyone thought when they first saw those images. And it's also the fact that we saw color changes. Not like we even saw their finished diecast versions, which
Yeah.
have the
That
most
did not
detail
help.
possible.
Well,
And
it's funny because the Revo Koss color changer is more accurate than the diecast, which I don't know, man. That's a whole nother can of worms. That's annoying, but
I'm trying to think of other.
The Cell Flats is probably the episode that it's like the first one that really kickstart the idea of Mater wanting to be something more than what he feels like.
Yes, exactly.
And also the fact that Maynard died.
Yeah, if anyone wants to talk about the plot, go ahead, because I kind of went off the rails a little.
I mean, basically Mater obviously feels like McQueen is so much better than, anything, and Mater just kind of feels kind of useless in a way. And I really like that idea. Really, my biggest complaint about Cars 2 is how they introduce Mater into the main plot. And kind of forcing McQueen to get mad at Mater. I don't know, I just felt like that was kind of weird. Well, here I think it works.
I feel like Cars. Listen, here's how to put it. I feel like Cars 2 McQueen in the Salt Fever episode, if you put McQueen from Cars 2 in there, he probably would have been more annoyed at Mater than worried for Mater. And he probably would have rolled his eyes and been like super annoyed. That's just the way I look at it. If you took Cars 2 McQueen and put him in that episode.
Well, I mean, the funny thing about this whole thing is that, Mater, if we are comparing it to Cars 2, I mean, Mater's already gone that fast, because he had the rockets.
Yes, you can tell they're really just not mentioning Cars 2 at all.
No,
Yeah,
like,
it's purposeful.
even then, okay, but even then, right? I think I would still personally say that even if you want to believe, right? And I do just for the sake of it, because it happened. But the rockets, right? When he has them, I know he goes like super lightning fast and all that stuff. And then obviously in the Soul Flats episode, he's breaking sound barriers basically. I still think that he goes faster at the Salt Flats than he did with the rockets. Only because,
Yeah.
it makes sense. I know people say, "Oh, that contradicts Cars 2 because he had the rockets, and now he's saying that he's always wanted to go faster than fast." I know he went like faster than fast technically in Cars 2 with the rockets, and people need to realize those rockets were fast, but they were not like breaking sound barriers fast.
Yeah.
He was still able to keep up with Mater with the rockets like at a comfortable speed. When he was on the Salt Flats, he left McQueen in the dust, and he basically died.
He left this world.
So I'm saying the rockets were not as fast as Mater with that whole land speed outfit. They were not the same speed.
And I think the main takeaway really is the fact that, yeah, you could make that argument of like, oh, it contradicts, but also
I just don't think it does because he goes faster than that. So
Yeah.
Well, no, but also like what I'm saying is that what I think is really the key takeaway is the fact that when Mater had the rockets originally, he probably didn't feel as insecure. Like, I feel like it's very clear that Mater's doing this because he feels insecure And I think some of that is maybe because of his sister. Because of the fact that they're doing this whole road trip for his sister, he probably feels a lot more insecure because he's consistently thinking about what she's going to think of him. So, you know, in any other circumstance, when he had the rockets, it wouldn't have been a big deal to him. But here, it's like, okay, McQueen is faster than me here. Maybe I can also find my way to be the best at this other thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's a case of the insecurity emerging specifically because of the trip. You know, when it wouldn't have otherwise.
I mean,
You know, I find
something.
it so funny about what if Mater actually didn't come back to life after pretty much dying, and so the speed demon took him and everything. What would McQueen do in that position? Would he still make the whole trip to the wedding just to tell Matsu the bad news, or would he just go back to Radiator Springs?
That's something weird to think about.
I mean, the whole thing with Mater dying is great.
I love.
Not that I want Mater dead. That was a weird transition.
You know, I don't know what I actually appreciate about it the most. I feel like it's for all those people that after Cars 2, they actually, like, when Cars 2 going into Cars 3, for some reason, there were some weird people out there that actually was saying, I hope they kill Mater off. I think they killed Mater off. I hope they kill him off. That whole segment of him dying felt like a massive slap in the face for all those people. See, you wanted Mater dead? You got him, but he's coming back to life.
And he opened his door.
Yeah, that's the big takeaway. He opened his door to get back in.
I think that's
true
like.
life, you know?
I think that's like the only scene.
That was also Pixar just making fun of all the conspiracists.
I think that one scene is the only scene in this entire show that made people like freak out. To like,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like, that's just something very trippy.
Wait, okay, here's my question. I'm actually curious. When was it within the episode when you watched it? Did you actually like kind of realize, like, it actually registered to you, like, Mater is dead? Like, yeah. Like, I was so confused at first. I'm like, wait, did this guy just die?
By the way, I love the Speed Demon's design.
Yeah.
Her design's
I mean,
cool.
if I had one critique about this episode, it would be that I think Mater dying is so premature. It's like 3 episodes into a 9-episode series. Mater just dies. I'm like, okay, maybe if you had this happen on like episode 7 or 8, I'd be
Or
like,
like the episode right before the wedding.
yeah, I'd feel a little more stakes, you know? And I have more thoughts about that later when I talk about how I would have done it differently. But I just think that's such a funny thing to be like, okay, we've just started this road trip, but now Mater's dead and McQueen's halfway in the middle of nowhere. Like, if he had died, like, that would have been so weird. You know, you're chasing after your best friend who just dies, and of course, you know, what do you do? Do you go back to Radiator Springs? Do you go to the wedding? You know, like, what do you do at that point?
That's such an interesting question to pose. Like, what would a McQueen done? Would he have still made the whole trip, or would he just like?
Yeah, like.
First Doc, now Mater.
Oh.
Next Lizzie.
He's gonna wrap Sally in bubble wrap after that.
Oh God. Yeah.
Hey, you know what actually would have been an interesting plot in Cars 3. Remember when McQueen said, "I give anything to talk to Doc right now"? So he goes to the salt flats and purposely tries to kill himself.
Oh my god. Oh. Do you think the Speed Demon watches Piston Cup races too?
Oh God, I think she's probably like on high alert.
Definitely people out
She's
there.
like, uh-oh, there's that kid again, Chuck Armstrong. One of these days, man.
I was gonna say, this might be my biggest, weirdest nitpick about the entire episode. I think it would have been cool if, like, a Piston Cup racer was there, like, with salt, like, with the, like, upgrades.
Think of something. I will give you my one critique. with this episode, and it's not with something it has, it's something it lacks of. I think that this was, I mean, this is gonna tie into an episode like later on. We'll talk about it. I think this definitely would have been a better episode to put Cruz in.
That too.
Yeah, very fair.
But
like it would have made sense, obviously too. Like it's just so fitting to just say that Cruz is at the Salt Flats for the off season and just training in the off season. Like it all makes sense.
And again, it would have also just tied in with the idea of like the outcasts in a positive light, you know?
Yeah.
In terms of the different types of racing.
I know. I'm saying like, cause we all knew that Cruz was gonna be on the road. We didn't know where or when or like how she was gonna show up or anything. We obviously knew she was gonna be on the road, and that was like probably the biggest, like, kind of unexpected thing going into the show. And I think like probably the biggest spoiler of the show was probably like where Cruz is gonna appear.
Yeah.
I personally, like, I know this kind of goes into the wedding episode, but like we'll get to that too. But
Yeah.
if I had to make a big critique about this episode, which isn't even what the episode, it's what it lacks of. I just think this was a better episode to feature Cruz in.
Mm-hmm. I got to go do something real quick. Y'all talk about the legend.
Okay. That's fun.
So I'll be back probably like 2 minutes.
Get that legend slideshow going, okay?
It's the shortest slideshow because I could find very little images from this short for some reason.
Well, that is so sad.
So I shall be back.
Oh. All right. Thoughts on the legend?
Well, this isn't about the episode itself. It's something like about the episode's animation. Just to start off, I really love the fire animation when they put that fire at the very start.
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. Very good fire animation. Just very good animation all around. I love the aesthetics of this one. I love whenever something takes place in a forest.
I think the whole like part of the episode before the intro, I think they did a really good job at displaying the personalities of both McQueen and Mater, like putting it out there. Like it's no contradiction or anything. I think they acted as I would expect their characters to act and how we've come to know them. Like, you know, Mater is like that very outgoing, spontaneous car that is like, you know, he's very venturous. Like he's kind of like one of those cars that would see a butterfly and get distracted. One of those, you know. So it makes sense that he saw the cryptid busters and he started making friends with them, and because he's very spontaneous. Where McQueen is very like kind of to himself and then to his close ones. And I kind of like that. And then like Mater kind of springs that whole cryptid buster thing on him out of nowhere. McQueen's like, I thought this was just gonna be me and you, and he's not sure how he feels about it, about going and venturing to these people he's never met before. When Mater is like all open to that idea because he's, like I said, he's a very spontaneous car and he's always looking for like cool opportunities and whatnot. I just like the intro because I think it played very well with McQueen and Mater as characters and personalities.
Well, I think you make a really good point about McQueen because it is really interesting to look at him as like someone who's kind of like, you know, more friends and family oriented, let's say, because he definitely is. Again, you could argue that's obviously the entire reason he's on this trip, but it's also basically the entire reason he does the World Grand Prix. You know, because it's that kind of whole thing that happens with Mater in Cars 2, and he wants to stick up for Mater and stick up for himself. He just wants to have a little fun with it, but it's very much a personal thing to him, which is such a contrast to Cars 1, and that's the only reason why I bring it up, because it's really interesting to see a guy with basically no friends who's kind of a friend to the world, and so he just schmoozes with whoever, but he doesn't really have any connections, to being someone who's very much, you know, I need my space, I need my time with the people I care about, you know, and that's what's more important to me than anything else, and that's a really good characterization of him, and it plays into his arc well, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Something, I'm back by the way.
Hello.
Something that's actually like one of the only episodes where like a character in the episode actually acknowledges like this is Lightning McQueen, like the Lightning McQueen. You know what I mean? Because the RV camper, right? He mentions McQueen's name without even like hearing it at first, so he obviously knows who McQueen is. He's heard of Lightning McQueen before. I just
Oh,
find
that's
that
funny.
Same with also the pity from B movie.
acknowledging the fact that this is the Lightning McQueen, who really, is a celebrity in the Cars universe, in in the racing world. He should be like widely known, like no matter where he goes.
Something okay, so this is like the whole thing about On the Road. I think they should have also done is how Mater has obviously a main plot throughout the whole show, and that he's, feeling insecure. I wish they also gave one to McQueen. And
I think that it's just that McQueen doesn't really. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he doesn't have a solid ongoing through line plot.
and
I
it's
think
very
that
easy to add one too.
It's very easy to add one. I think he's just kind of ignorant of Mater's struggles. I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to add one.
And the one I have a cool idea for is kind of basically McQueen is out, training crews all the time because he's a trainer. He's a crew chief now. He's not a racer anymore, right? yeah, totally. Just not racing anymore. And I think it would have been cool if like he's too busy, training with crews to spend time with Mater, and he's starting to feel guilty about it because he's realizing that he hasn't spent any time with Mater in a long time, and that's why he goes on the road trip to spend some time with Mater. And I think that can implement very well into this episode with wanting him to spend time with Mater at the campfire, just him and Mater.
Yeah, very, very astute. There's a lot that they could have done more in terms of connecting the arcs, but speaking of arcs, this is kind of a bizarre two-parter episode in a way, because it starts off the Ivy arc.
Oh, you mean Cruise? 2.0?
No, with Showtime, how Ivy's found in the legend, and then she sticks with them for that episode towards the end. And
Monster Truck Cruise.
Yes.
Beta Cruiser.
She's only Beta Cruise in the B movie musical, as it were, and she just doesn't have any of the interesting aspects that Cruise does.
I'm not a fan of Ivy.
Ivy, really?
She murdered a car.
She murdered Hit and Run. That's why they're in the deceased characters category. Pixar Cars Wiki. I'm not even
joking. I think that might be the single worst scene they've ever animated in the Cars universe. Just because of how stupid and lazy it is. Like, when you walk about some nitpicky things from Cars 2 or Cars 3 that you have issues with, and they're valid issues to have, but that one scene, I think, is actually the single worst piece of animation they've conjured up from this entire franchise. Because how lazy it literally is. The Demolition Derby cars, skinned down. Some of them don't have their numbers. Some of them do still have their numbers for some reason.
I would be fine with it if you know what's bugging me is the fact that they recolored one of them and none of the other ones. They recolored the one that talks, and it's just Fishtail. And it's blue and yellow now, and he talks now.
No, something that's more annoying too is that, okay, listen, if you're gonna bring back some of the Demolition Derby cars, like pretty much like for like, with maybe like one minor difference, fine, do that. But you want to know what you perfectly missed out on? You could have played it into the Thunder Hollow. If you're gonna use the Thunder Hollow, you could have played it to the Thunder Hollow. They could have done this whole backstory where Ivy actually used to be in the Demolition Derby, and that would have played in well. That's all I'm saying. Like,
no, I fully agree with you. That's why the recoloration of the one Fishtail kind of hurts.
And also the random Duke Coulters, I think that's the car model.
Yeah, that guy was also pissing me off, but I can kind of retcon him as being like another Demo Derby guy, but it's so annoying when they. So my thing is that they recolor Fishtail so he can say like one line, and yet they use a non-recolored fishtail in the salt flats also prominently as some other character named Lou, and it's literally just fishtail. And
I liked his. I liked that one in Salt Fever though. I thought that was kind of funny.
I personally am just thinking, why couldn't they have recolored that one and had the regular non-recolored fishtail be the one who says the line in the Demo Derby flashback, so then I can hold on to my little belief that this is just all the Thunder Hollow Demo Derby guys, because it is. There's no getting around it. That's just who they are. They are the exact same, but there's this one guy that apparently, presumably, also got killed the same night, because we never see him again. So
I can't wait for Mattel to release them.
I would actually be happy if they did, but I don't think they're going to. But I do think it's funny that Hit and Run, I assume because of this, are now in the deceased characters category.
You know, I think what they should have done to match up the Cars timeline perfectly was have it be Major's cousins to explain why they weren't at the wedding.
Oh no, that's so wild. Look.
That's yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I wasn't a fan of honestly, I would have preferred just for this episode. You know how they thought they were chasing a Bigfoot? I actually would have preferred if we did get an actual Bigfoot, like an actual menacing monster-esque kind of character.
That's fair.
Maybe at the level of like the Screaming Banshee-esque, like that kind of level. I kind of wish that we got an actual genuine Bigfoot menacing car character.
The Screaming Banshee is so bizarre. It's such a weird thing that exists, and the fact that there are multiple versions of him in Thomasville Mine section of Cars 3 video games.
Oh my
another thing.
Gosh, I forgot about that.
I also for the amount of things they clarify, that's one of the things they needed to clarify, because within the name it is something that shouldn't make sense to these cars, right? Why would the term foot be a thing in this universe?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why? That's the thing, though.
They literally just said big tire and called it a day.
Do they call it Big Wheel from the hit movie Robots?
I personally would have just done big tire. That's the most logical one to go to. I just didn't
big bumper.
Said
Big bumper.
Why would the term foot exist for these cars?
Big axle? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to, yeah. I was saying this earlier, I think this is my favorite short animation-wise.
I can't disagree with you there. I do like the woods.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the woods.
The music.
Yeah, the woods, the chase scene, the fire, the lighting.
That scene with the alien light coming through the trees.
Yes.
Is so good.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorites animation-wise. It has some really nice animation.
I like
lighting.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Some great lighting, some great
one of my
camera
favorite
shots.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny that the Cryptid Buster McQueen and Mater variants are on screen for such little time compared to the gearless versions. True,
actually.
Which is bizarre.
Also, I don't know if this was intentional, but the Thomasville scene when McQueen is have no lights, trusting instincts, I did he do that? I think he did that.
I mean, his thing came off, his light bar came off, so
yeah.
I guess technically.
He did do that for a little bit. I wonder if that was intentional. I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
I mean, he did crash, but that's only because he looked away for a second.
So this is why you don't text and drive.
Also, how is he not damaged at all? He ran into a tree going 50 miles an hour, I assume.
He's just built different. He's just built different.
He's got that plot armor.
He does have that plot armor.
He survived
One of the big the show is the fact that pretty much the big plot line of the show is Ivy's backstory and getting the Cryptid Busters off of her living space, right? And she really wanted to protect her living space. But they went through all that effort, right, of scaring them away with the fake props and all that, and just pranking them basically and scaring them off her land, just for her to abandon it at the end of the episode.
Yes.
That's the part I hate about this episode the most, and that's why the legend is not really I think overall the Legend episode is like, it's more of a bad episode than a good one. Like if I had to like split it half and half,
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think it's more bad than good. It's just because of all those things, a couple things that are frustrating or lazy. But that's like the main thing to me is the fact that they went through all that effort, right, to get the Cryptid Busters off their land. And they did all that. And they could have kept Ivy there, and then, she's in the past, and then you go about your way.
And
but then,
also,
they
you're just
abandon all that for her to ride along. Like, I just don't get it.
And you're also kind of just reaffirming their beliefs. Like, they're going to come back. They literally just got proof that there was aliens. That's the one thing that they've been looking for. They're going to be even more
They'll
annoying.
probably just bring more people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess plot-wise, because I know that they just wanted to do a satire of conspiracy theorists, and it's kind of fun for that purpose.
Yeah, I like
But
the
what it
designs.
creates- I do too, but what it creates is kind of a weird portrait of Ivy as a character that I don't necessarily really like. I wouldn't say she's like awful, but there's not a lot. There's not a lot of thought behind whatever they did in this episode. And there's just not a lot of reason for, really anything that happens. But I like her arc in Showtime, I guess. That's all I have to say about the Legend.
This plot would have
Except for
ended
the fact
so much earlier if oh shoot, I forgot her name. How did I forget her name? Ivy. If Ivy just was a pure redneck American and just put out with her guns and say, "Get off my property."
I mean, she could shower. Like,
say, "Hey,
just-
I'm not Bigfoot. Leave me alone."
Yeah. I mean, I know that's. I'm kind of assuming a lot. Like, yes, those types of people will still investigate you, even if you're just a normal person.
Yes.
But also, she looks like a monster. She's
Maybe-
got moss entirely covering every part of her body.
Call the police. Tell them these people are invading my property.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe she's like Hulk Hogan or something. She's just like, she doesn't want to be recognized. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I love. I mean, it's probably just because I love 500.5, but I like the design on McQueen with the little roof rack.
I do too. I don't really like the diecast very much, but I love his look with the light bar.
Also, Mayor being a cryptid buster car that totally fits him. I don't know why.
It's very funny.
It-
I
it
like it a
fits.
lot. It is funny.
I'm trying to think of anything else to say about this episode.
Well, I finally purchased my Cryptid Buster Mater from overseas today, so God knows when that will get here.
I'm behind. I'm behind. Part of me just wants to wait for him to find them in stores, but I don't even know if that's gonna happen anytime soon.
It's rough. It's rough.
Okay, I guess
I don't think Cryptid Buster is in any Walmart cases. Like, side note, I don't think he is for the years.
No, he's not in any Walmart cases, even though he has a Walmart code, because he was supposed to be in the Walmart case H, and then he was replaced with Cryptid
Okay,
Buster
so I should
McQueen.
probably go and try and get that one.
That's yeah. I say that only because he's also a semi-deluxe.
That
and-
yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the semi-deluxes I don't think are coming back. I don't think they're going to do those again. And the problem is they're so poorly distributed. So,
I hope that's
Oh,
not
well.
true because there's a lot more that they can do still.
I feel like it's a very on-the-road thing. I feel like I just don't know. I mean, this is just talking about my predictions for the year, but I don't see them doing it except in 2-packs. But I do see them continuing to do it in 2-packs.
That's a big oof.
So, who knows?
Alright, on to the next episode, Showtime. The Whale Wash.
This is the one that introduces, the Lord and Savior Greebles. So it has
That's
to be good.
I thought you were gonna say this is the episode that really hit the nail on the repaints.
Oh! Speaking of that, great thing to bring up, another nitpick that I saw when I was watching it last night, is there's the line of cars that Ivy's about to jump over, and I guess everyone's thinking like, oh, she's gonna crush them. There's
If he did actually crush one of the cars, I think it'd be higher up on my list.
that would have been very funny. I wish she would have crushed the extra Kelly Beam Bright that they just copy and pasted in that line, because there's two of the exact same car with the exact same paint job, the exact same animation, and then when you cut to the close-up for that shot and that shot only, there's an entirely new circus troupe member that's just Bruno Motoro repainted for that shot only. And then when you cut back out, that car is gone again, and it's the two Kellys that they just copy and pasted.
Weird.
And it's so funny because there's an extra Kelly that shouldn't be part of the troupe, and
Actually,
there's the extra Bruno looking repaint that they should have, like, also, it's not, that car is not in the group photo either, so.
That's weird. I will say that there actually are two Kelly Beam Rights throughout the whole episode. It's just one has like stilts, and one doesn't.
No, the animation was literally copy and paste.
But yeah. I think that one is definitely
a little more pink. I think.
It is? Okay, I guess they're slightly different.
I might be insane. I'm gonna wait until your slideshow comes around again and look at the group picture.
Because yeah, that's why I bought two Kelly Bean Rice, just so I could have one on the stilts. But I think there's
very smart.
Oh shit, I was gonna say something.
Yeah, it has a different roof pattern. At least from what I'm looking at it looks like it has a different roof pattern.
Oh, let's also don't forget MC.
Oh, of course.
Premiered in this episode.
Yes, MC premiered in this episode and then had to wait, let's see, 1, 2, wait, okay, let me count it all again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months for her wife to get made. So there you go.
Why did they use Sterling's model?
It's just bad. It's just lazy. It doesn't even matter. I don't care that they used Sterling's model. Why did they use Sterling's expression?
That's the diecast portion.
I think it's Mattel's fault that we were all disappointed in the episode.
That too, because we all thought it was.
That is actually true.
If we did not see, the problem was, right, the diecast was leaked, like in the the annual event every year where like they show like new things coming. So there was a car section and they showed a lot of on the road stuff that K-Pillar Derev was there and all. He had the same expression as Sterling. And so at that point forward, everyone, and I'm not, you're lying if you say no, everyone thought that was Sterling. And everyone started getting, like, oh my god, Sterling isn't on the road. That's Sterling. Because it has the same expression as Sterling. And this is before On the Road came out, or this is before even, like, any animation pictures were leaked.
Or the books. Because
none of
the books deconfirmed it.
Yeah, but before all that all came out, like that picture before. So we all thought that it was Sterling because of the diecast. I don't even blame Pixar for it more so. The reason why we're all disappointed in it is Mattel's fault for number. It's just Mattel's fault for giving him Sterling's expression. That's the only reason why we're disappointed, because we were all falsely led to believe that it was going to be Sterling just from that diecast.
It's because they specifically chose to make her first and not May for some reason. Because they made Kay on her own.
I don't get why they didn't just do them in a 2-pack.
Yeah.
I don't get that either. But the thing, I think that's part of the reason why it was so misleading, is because it was that one specifically, and then Greebles. And I hear me out. At least for me, I was thinking, oh, this is some weird kind of fucked up like villain circus. This was like some weird like rehab community service for villains. I thought like Sterling was gonna be running it or something or whatever. And, there was gonna just be a bunch of like I didn't think that Greebles was gonna be like literally Grem or someone from Cars 2, but I was thinking, oh, it'd be funny if they had Lemons as villains and they had other ones and they were all clowns there. and that was like a funny gag, and McQueen was bantering with Sterling, but of course that never happened.
Yeah. I do like the
but,
cars,
yeah.
a lot of the cars they chose, because, little fun fact, Gremlins are sometimes referred to as clown cars in real life.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it works. I like it.
You guys remember that one scene when they're performing their act when McQueen is saying like I don't forgot exactly what he said, but he was basically trying to sneak out or something, and Mater tells him that wouldn't be polite. Besides, they'll drag you back, and then McQueen looks to his side. There's two clown cars just like giving him the most evil, like grinning smile of all time. I don't know if it was intentional, but I absolutely love the fact that one of them was that gremlin clown, because I see it as a cool callback to Cars 2.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it would have been fun if they did the callbacks to Cars 3 and Cars 2, like literally in this episode. Also, just a couple little fun, juicy tidbits from when I watched the episode last night, and I was just trying to really pay attention to it. There's like a bunch of like background chatter amongst the clowns as they kind of congratulate themselves, and there's a specific pan where there's this one guy like, oh wow, like never seen anything like that before, man, or whatever. I don't know what he says, but it's really kind of funny. And you see this pan around of all these clowns, and none of their mouths move when that line is being said. But you don't see Greebles, so I'm gonna choose to believe that that's Greebles' voice. And we've just gotten it revealed. And okay, one of those voices, it might be that one. Apparently Carlos, I don't remember his name, Alazraqui, maybe? The guy who voices El Chew in Planes, right?
Oh.
El Chupacabra is apparently in the cast for this episode.
Oh, wow. And
So
that
I
model
don't know if
is...
they just had him on hand. I don't know if he voiced the same plane. That would be really funny.
That would have been funny. I like the plane model. I mean, obviously
It's
good. I mean, we didn't see any planes in Cars 3, believe it or not. Unless if you count your blimp, but...
He's not really a plane.
Yeah, well, flying aircraft. But we don't see, like, any helicopter. Like, we still don't see any of that in Cars 3.
There was no Colin Cowling in Cars 3. Dislike.
He's probably dead now.
I mean, he probably is.
Yeah, a little fun fact. There's only, 5 air blimps left in existence.
I don't even know, but the number is so small, it's ridiculous.
So, definitely one of our 2 lovable air blimps from the Cars franchise is probably dead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Colin.
Yeah.
Just because the Goodyear blimp has more reason to exist.
Then the RSN blimp. I'm sorry. I just gotta think about this for planes. Why did they get a camera, presumably from an aircraft of some sort, like a helicopter, filming Colin in the air? I feel so elaborate.
Whoa, you're right. I didn't even think of that.
I love
That's wild.
Planes is such a fascinating movie. Oh yeah, also one thing I want to point out is Major's kind of a bad friend in this episode.
He kind of really is.
He's just exposing McQueen's fear. Like, I think his intentions are good, but like he's doing it in like the messed up way possible.
No, there was this one person. Okay, you guys probably know who I'm talking about, but there was, that one person, first of all, that analyzed like all 3 Cars movies in one video.
Unlucky Tugs?
That could be many people.
Unlucky Tugs?
Are we talking about
No, like
Unlucky
he
Tugs?
analyzed like every movie in one video. And
Yeah,
all timestamps.
Unlucky Tugs?
Yeah, him. And
I know him for many, very different reasons. But yes.
Yeah, and then he did a video like later on that was on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
In one of the segments when he's talking about On the Road, he mentions this episode and how Mater, and how he didn't really like how Mater was in this episode because he felt like it was kind of out of character. Because it's kind of he felt that it was a little out of character for Mater to not be more concerned for McQueen's fear that's so obvious, and he's kind of like playing it off as a joke and almost like kind of like throwing it in his face or like laughing about it or not seeing it as a big deal. He said that it felt a little out of character. I remember he just showed a small scene when Mater is like taking his fear like it's nothing. No, I think he said he hated the fact that Mater literally, when they asked for a volunteer from the audience, Mater literally asked them to pick McQueen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember right after he just blatantly said, "Who are you?"
I feel like there's so many weird lines from Mater in this episode. I think specifically the one that sticks out to me is the one where he's doing an exposition dump on the fact that Ivy used to kill cars, as if McQueen doesn't know this. It's a very odd line to me.
Also,
And
very.
he's like, I thought she was done with that kind of stuff. Like, what do you mean?
Thank you. We just saw the last episode literally 8 minutes ago.
Oh man.
A very big nitpick of mine
Okay,
is.
this is like, I get it, it's the clown vibe. It's just, this is also my nitpick. It's just also for my kind of distaste for whenever anything kind of makes the Cars franchise seem kiddish or childish. I just feel like the end of this episode was a bit. I know, I get it. It's clowns. It's meant to be goofy and all that stuff. But I think it's mostly with Ivy's performance, right? And how you think that she's gonna like crush a car, then she doesn't. She starts doing these like dance moves and whatnot, and like the whole, like even the soundtrack to it, and
With
like
the rap
build-up,
beatbox.
then like aftermath of her like spinning on a wheel. Like me personally, I just think it's a bit too on the childish side. It feels like something out of Blaze and the Monster Machines or something like that.
I think, unfortunately, kind of everything with Ivy feels that way.
Yeah.
If I may say
Well,
that
okay,
way.
well, yeah, that goes. That's the reason why Ivy is like. I'm gonna say it. Like, I think Ivy's actually my least favorite character, like prominent character, from anything they've ever done with cars. Like, she's probably my least favorite one. And not only that, because she is like a monster truck cruise, basically. It's not like she's like a personality you haven't seen before. She literally is a monster truck cruise, more or less.
Without any of the interesting parts of Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least Cruz had interesting backstories and whatnot. Ivy
Cruz
is
is
just like a.
yeah.
And it had some nice
Like-
character dynamic with McQueen and like.
Oh my god, I crushed a car once.
It's bizarre. She's bizarrely way too friendly with them. And
Yeah.
with everyone, given the
Like,
way that she's
I don't
supposed
think
to be.
I don't think the clown episode was a horrible idea. Like, it's okay.
I like the
it's
idea.
one of those- I think that I'll put it this way. I feel like the clown episode I feel like it's impossible to make the clown episode one of the best ones because of its sole concept. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you can't really do much with clowns. I find it impossible to make an episode about clowns where it's like top 3,
Well,
top 2.
I
think
don't
in terms
know.
of its limits, I think in terms of its limits, it kind of did what I expected, but I still think it was too much on the childish side of things for my own personal liking. It stopped feeling like Cars. It stopped feeling like one of those like Disney Junior shows or something.
I mean, I love the circus aesthetic. I just do, but I don't know if this was the way that they could have used that to its max, you know?
Yeah.
But at least it gave us like a bunch of cars that they keep releasing. So,
They should have totally had the announcer
Mattel?
been.
I bet, right? Mattel watched this episode. I bet all their like CEOs that work on the Diecast, they were all watching this episode for the first time, all licking their lips. Because they know that they are having a field day with this episode. Repaint after repaint after repaint.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
They should have totally had the announcer been a brown car voiced by John Ratzenberger instead.
I see what you mean. I get it. I get the reference.
I think this deserves to be mentioned as well. You know how all the pitties that like jump off of the biplane and then like they come down with parachutes, they're all basically the Guido model?
Yeah.
I personally didn't like the fact that they were all the Guido model because Guido's model in itself, it should be like a very unique Italian model car. Like, why would like so many of one model
Yeah.
meant to be an Italian model forklift be so prominent and so spammed like nothing in an American circus? Like, it just makes no sense. Like, that's meant to be like a very unique Italian forklift model.
Yeah.
And
I do
it's,
think
like,
it works in this episode way better than a few other episodes, though.
Oh, you mean like The B movie one.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Do we have any other lasting thoughts on Showtime?
Oh, yeah.
I do like that the theme of it is confronting fears, because McQueen has to confront his fear and Ivy has to confront her fear. That's nice. That's really all that I have to say about it.
Yeah. I also wish
not
there
high
was
on the
other
list.
cars in the audio. I like the setting. Like, I like the setting of the circus itself, but I don't like the look of, like, that they're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't get it.
Like, they spent a lot of money probably setting all this up and stuff, and they're getting no money out of it.
No one comes ever.
It's kind of like Radiator Springs vibes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, okay.
You know
Yeah.
what? It
Good
actually
point
makes
there.
sense too. It actually makes sense too. Like the way that they're doing their performance, and then they're like insisting on them to stay. It kind
Yeah.
of gives off the vibe that they're so desperate for like attention. You know,
Yeah.
they're so desperate
Uh-huh.
for actual like watchers and audiences, and they don't get it often. So when it does come, they get overly excited. It's very reminiscent of Cars 1 when Minnie and Van came
Yeah.
down, then
Well,
everyone
that's-
became overly excited.
That's definitely true. I just think it's very bad business for them to set up right there and not near a town.
Yeah.
I just really want to know what they're doing, like on a day-to-day basis. Like, where do all these cars live? Like, you guys seriously just come to the circus, like, for yourselves? Because
They come every day, even though they know they're gonna get no business. They get all up in makeup and everything. They just like spend 5 hours doing nothing, and then maybe one person will come around and then do like the pie in the face gag. You know, I don't know. It's got to be a sad life, but I mean,
Yeah.
I love the weird cars. That's my thing. I love
Yeah.
Lemons. I love the demo derby, and I guess I like these guys too, even though they're definitely not my favorite group. You know, I like the Road Rumbers better.
Oh,
But
I love the whale wash.
yes, only thing we haven't mentioned so far, the whale wash, which is weird because it also feels like it should be its own separate episode, but just isn't.
It was going to be in
Um,
Cars 1, the whale wash.
Well,
No, I find it so. You know,
I'm
I
glad
find
they
it
finally
so
got to-
amazing that it actually took us this long to see a car wash in the Cars universe.
that's quite true.
We have the...
Like, not even in a Maker's Tall Tale, like, or anything. Like, I can't believe this is actually the first time that we've ever seen a car wash in the Cars universe.
Yep. Does the bathroom in the Tokyo party count?
No. Maybe. Wait. I don't know.
Heck, why is there?
That's-
Why is that even a
that's a lot of-
feature?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's the real Cars fan pilgrimage. Go to Japan and try out one of the toilets. It's not like go to Arizona, do the Route 66 road trip. It's go to Japan and use one of the toilets.
Yep.
Every Cars fan needs to do it once.
Well, on to everyone's favorite episode.
Worst
Trucks. I love trucks. God, why do they even try to release merch from it? Just stop. Just give up. You know? I don't know.
You know, this is a simple solution to fixing all this. But I don't know. Maybe like deluxe the brand or something. I don't know.
Maybe do deluxes. That's a novel idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe instead of
That's too much though. That's
yeah,
too
maybe make new semis.
You remember that one like hauler listing that's been on Walmart for a year, and we're like, oh, is this a new on the road hauler? And it's just never had any news about it. Yeah, who knows?
Yep.
Who knows? Trucks is
As someone who loves musicals, in my opinion, I think it's kind of decent.
it's pretty good. It's pretty well. Okay, the thing with Trucks is that Trucks is the emotional centerpiece of the show. Without it, the show would be just okay. And as it stands, it is just okay, but it would be even more just okay. So it would be just okayer, which I think is nothing we want. So really, I love trucks. I can't hate trucks at all. I think it's fantastic.
I feel like this.
People hate on this episode, but it's really, really good at showing Mater's arc and how he gets reaffirmed. It's heartwarming. It's cute. It's fun. The animation is trippy.
I like it. I like the animation.
And I like that it gives Mater a spotlight. I know that Mater's always getting the spotlight, but I really do like it when Mater gets the spotlight in cases like this where he gets reaffirmed. You know?
I would have liked it more if they actually showed Mater's musical being like a dream or something, because I just my main issue with this episode is like all this stuff clearly doesn't happen.
So your main issue
like
with this is
it feels like made you to believe that it does when it just so clearly doesn't. That's my main gripe. At least with things in the past, when things are so unrealistic, they let you know that it's unrealistic because it didn't happen. Like
that's a
daydream or just a story that's being told, like in the Tall Tales. That's my main issue with this episode, is that so clearly none of that happens, but they just make you believe that somehow it happens.
I mean, it's a musical number? Question mark. I mean, like, I get where you're coming from, but also like.
I'm saying make it a dream. Then it's the most simple solution. Like,
but like,
stop at the truck stop. Mater took a nap while McQueen went inside, and then he dreamt about it. So.
I mean. The trucks might have just got him like really high like, chemicals and stuff, so we don't know. He might have had some kind of spiritual awakening. I mean, of course it doesn't happen, but also
it definitely doesn't happen.
Does any musical number in any musical happen?
Well, I have a solution to a musical that's meant to be real life. Make the musical, just make it a dream. That's all you got. That's all you have to do. That's really all you have to do. Like,
that's
for example,
such a bizarre.
When McQueen dreamt of getting the Dinoco sponsorship, if they did that whole Dinoco sequence of McQueen getting the sponsorship and they made you believe for some reason that it happened in the moment but it clearly didn't, I would hate it. But because they clearly like show that it's a daydream, like it's all in McQueen's head, like you like it because it's fun, it's entertaining, but you know it doesn't happen and it's shown and it's not confusing. That's what I just personally think they should have done.
I don't think it's that different, to be honest, because it's just a cut from one to the next, and so we're already doing the musical number, and then you just cut, and then it's clearly made up. I mean, it's a void that can't exist in reality, so I don't think there's any mistaking it or confusing it with our world. I mean, you know, it's like watching any musical.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this.
The character immediately breaks into song, unless that's something that's part of it, and that's just filmmaking. Filmmaking will stitch together tons of stuff over montages, and I mean, well, that's what expressionism is for, because now we're in a debate of expressionism versus naturalism, right? And it's talking cars. It's not realistic anyway.
This episode's just trippy to begin with.
I see where you're coming from, but also I don't see it as that different from McQueen's sponsor dream, because the song ends with Mater's eyes closed. When you exit the daydream or whatever it is with the music number, you know.
I'm just imagining he's just singing the song with his eyes closed now.
Yeah. I mean, it's his struggle and it's his. I mean, how would you do it any differently? Just have him fall asleep? I mean, because that's no fun. I don't know. I feel like that stops a musical dead in its tracks to do something like that. I mean, that's like saying like imagine we had a musical and every character has to fall asleep before they can start singing. You know what I mean? Like the flow of that would be insane. I don't know. That's just
Stinky made an appearance, and that's a 10 out of 10 for me.
In the exact same show that we're talking about, the very first episode, Mater daydreams about him and McQueen in the prehistoric times, and then he says, "I'll save you, buddy," and then they cut back to real life, and Mater's also saying it out loud. So it's not that far fetched to say that Mater can talk in his sleep or something.
Oh yeah.
You see, he was talking in his sleep, and the trucks really liked it, and so they started humming it back to him.
I love that lore.
See, okay, yeah, exactly. That's a good part, Aaron. Like that could have been something they could have like built upon, maybe.
And
Mater, and then maybe Mater making fun. Maybe Mater like thinks like they're making fun of him, so at first he feels like really insecure and embarrassed about it, but they all actually like lift him up and actually compliments him.
That's not
It's-
bad either.
I
I
love.
think it's unnecessary, but I think that would be also a nice little addition to it. Especially just the fact that every truck, he's used to feeling not like one of the trucks, you know. So to have that little moment of confusion might be kind of cool, because then you have that feeling of like, oh, are they making fun of me?
You know,
or not?
something that's weird to say about this episode. I think this episode would have benefited even more if Ivy was in this episode.
I know.
Ooh.
She's literally a monster truck. I mean,
You make a good point.
Like, okay,
this is a small. This is a very small part. I actually did kind of like the scene where they briefly show for like a good 5 seconds McQueen in the shop trying to look for his name and he can't find it. I just like it because it's so relatable to anyone who's been on a road trip or anyone who's been in the store trying to look for their name on the and can't find it and gets so annoyed.
I think it's especially funny because his name is like Lightning. Like, where are you gonna find that on a?
actually, his real name
No,
is
but you know what I find-
Montgomery.
You know what I actually appreciate about it too is that they kind of leave it open. So yes, his real name is Montgomery, right? That is his real name, but he always goes by Lightning. That scene right there, it kind of leaves it in the open to when he says they never have my name. He could be looking for Lightning, or maybe you can also believe that he's actually looking for Montgomery.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So I kind of like that.
What if he was looking for stickers? What if he was like, oh, there's none that say stickers.
And
Me personally, I never have trouble finding my name because Jaco's a very common name, so I normally find it all the time. But
same for Aaron.
Mine is a little less common.
Actually,
Just a little
I feel
less
bad.
common. Just a little less.
Actually, I see Aaron spelled with an E more than an A for some reason.
Like the female version of
Yeah, yeah.
Bizarre.
I don't know why. Also, let's just talk about how awesome it is that the trucks are so, welcoming to their community by allowing a bus in their musical number.
I mean, I think that's the whole point of the whole number, the whole episode.
Yeah.
Is just that there is this kind of welcoming community
I
for
think,
Vader, and he
although
just
the
doesn't
bus,
know where to look for it.
the bus kind of is weird. I feel like
the
that.
bus is weird.
I feel like-
I didn't think about that until you brought it up, and now I will be thinking about the bus.
I think it's
I
more.
will lose my head if Mattel releases that blue smoke.
I'm so pumped for that Blue Smoky. I know that they probably won't make it, but it's so good.
Imagine that ends up being one of the 3 names that we already know about.
That's Chris Freightman, baby.
I would rather want a non-repaint, like one of those. I don't know. It's like there's a tow truck in that
Yes,
musical
I was
number as
about to
well.
pitch that.
Yeah, like I
I
think.
was about to pitch the tow truck because the tow truck, they could just make the Piston Cup tow truck with that.
Yeah.
And by that I mean the Cars 3 Piston Cup tow truck, which is also used as the Demolition Derby tow truck, which has also not been made in diecast.
Yep.
All 3 of which share the same model and mold, so
And like I said, Stinky
that's
is in
where
this.
I would go.
Stinky is in this episode. 10 out of 10.
And Colossus XXL is also in it, so.
Honestly, the amount of trucks they just dumped in this episode is kind of funny to me.
It is very funny.
Just-
I especially like the one semi-truck that's nervous, and he's like, and that's why we sing? Why did they go that hard? I don't know what his character was, but now I'm invested in his life.
I have also one nitpick from this episode for you.
Shoot.
So, the truck with the hauler and everything, the trailer that goes into the car wash?
Yes.
He drives in forward, but when he comes out, he's also driving out forward. How big is that car wash that you were able to do a whole 360 in there?
And with his whole trailer too.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a very funny shot.
That's the musical number part of the imagination.
He just went through twice. He just went
Want
through
to know
twice.
how much space you need to do a whole 360 with a cab and a trailer behind you?
He went in the way in, and then he realized, oh, I need to be in the musical number. So when he got out, he immediately turned around. Instead of just driving around the building like a normal person, he went back in, forced his way through all the machinery pushing against him, and he arrived on his cue. So how can we hate him for that?
This is also a weird nitpick of mine, but I wish there was more references on the semis, because in Cars 1, all of the semis at the top-down truck stop had references on their, like, thing that they were carrying. Like, some were, like, Pixar movies, like, FN was labeled on the side, which stands for Finding Nemo.
That one truck that went into the car wash was the only one that had a trailer. Like, all the other ones at the stop were just cabs.
Yeah.
Well, there are references in this episode, but they're not on the trucks. They're on like the storefront.
That too.
Like
True.
if you look at the storefront, you can see like I don't know what it says. I may have saved a screenshot. Here it is. Yeah, it says Ivo Koss Protected, and of course Ivo Koss is the name of one of the animators who Revo Koss is named after.
Yeah.
So it's there's little nods like that.
Although I wish there was like
but they're not on the trucks
stuff in the store that like there's no Danico cans in the store.
Yeah.
There's triple deck gum. I mean, we know that exists.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I don't know. It's a weird thing to be bothered about, but it bothers me. Also, I do like the name.
Instructive.
I do like the name of the gas station.
You
truck.
like that it's called Truckies?
It's a reference to an existing gas station named Buc-ee's.
Okay. I was gonna say, because Truckies in and of itself is not sparking a lot, but if it's a reference, I'll allow it.
It sounds kind of racist, if anything. Like only.
Whenever you said it,
like
now I
truck
hear it.
Like
Now I hear it.
If you're a normal car, then like.
Yeah, no. Buc-ee's is like a very big gas. It's like the same size as this gas station. Although at the store.
Yeah, I've been to a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, although the store section's way bigger than it is here, but like the actual, it's meant for semi trucks, so.
Yeah.
I
guess that checks out then.
That's why I assume it's a reference to that. I mean, I don't know what else it can be, but so.
Well, thank God we're finally at like the last stretch of episodes.
Yes.
That's all I have to say because we've been going on for a while.
Yes.
But yeah.
My favorite episode. My favorite episode.
My favorite too. A really, really good episode. B-movie is fantastic. I wish they made a diecast of Bella Cadabra.
Didn't they?
I'm gonna let that one sink in for a little bit.
Wait. I thought they did, though.
They did, in fact. It is impossible to find.
Oh, good thing I got it.
There are no eBay listings for it.
I'm so happy I got it for
Mercari
$20.
There's, did you buy the one from Walmart stores?
I think so for $20.
I wanted to get that one. Oh well, it's impossible to find. It's like genuinely the.
I'm
hardest,
sure she'll be re-released in the future.
Oh yeah, I think that pack will come out again.
No, I
but
find
it's,
it funny.
It's funny that like one of the main characters with the main variant that they're pushing is just like the.
I know. I like the
worst
I find it funny
distributed.
because it's the most wanted. It's the most wanted release of the year so far because of how like scarce it is. But on the face of it, I think Bella Cadabra is probably one of the worst new releases of the year.
Oh, genuinely, it's terrible.
I know,
terrible.
it's such a bad release. Like, the expression is god-awful. I just find that so funny, because it's probably the most desirable one to get, and it's the one that everyone wants because of how scarce it is. But on
I
the
want it because I like
so
the
bad.
character. I like this episode. I want Bella Cadabra because I'm a film director. I want a film director. I want a cheesy camp film director. I don't care that she looks absolute dog shit.
She's fine except the expression. It's just the expression. I don't know why she looks so happy. She looks like she's just seen a cloud with money dripping out of it.
I mean, that's Hollywood. I imagine that is what she sees, yeah. Well, I mean, she has the same problem that the Ivy diecast does with the eyes, where the eyes are just way too big. It's not like the pupils themselves, but like the whites of her eyes are so, like her eyebrows are raised so high.
Her expression just looks way too robotic.
It's bizarre. Well, yeah. Or should we say, like a zombie?
Okay, I'm back.
Where did you go?
I had to get food because it's late.
Alright, okay. Well, we were just talking about Bella Cadabra. And I think this is another episode that's a really great insight into McQueen's character. I think
Yes.
it's great that he loves pulpy camp movies. I think that's fantastic.
I mean, it makes
And I
sense.
think
He
the fact
wanted
that
to
they
be in a
even-
Hollywood movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Yeah, exactly. And the movie he wanted to be in was a monster movie. So, you know,
True.
works at full circle moment.
Obviously, the most realistic character in this entire episode is Lance the Writer. You know,
Yeah,
he's
I
getting
feel that.
paid way less than, like, if you're right, like, he is a good role model for writers because, like, he's angry.
I hope
They're-
he's on strike right now.
You can tell he was mad when they told Mater to make his own script. He was mad.
He was very mad.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he's on set for.
So,
I think the best part about the B movie, you know how I mentioned previously about the dinosaurs and how it does tie into a very small scene in Cars 2 where they briefly mention the dinosaurs. You know, everyone obviously remembers the whole daydream in Cars 1 when McQueen dreams about getting Dinoco sponsorship and some. Like, he's even dreaming about, like, Hollywood and movies and, like, star roles in movies. And then on the road, when he gets the opportunity to be a celebrity guest star, he gets, like, so excited and whatnot. And he's like me in a movie, like, because it seems like he's really interested in Hollywood. And I really love that because, again, it ties into something we've seen in the past. We saw in Cars 1 from that daydream, McQueen is actually he really likes acting. Like, he likes movies. Like, movies are, like, his second thing, and he really enjoys it.
And
I love how that episode, like, followed up on that. Like, it continued on with that, with McQueen's love for Hollywood.
And I think the great thing about it is that it takes that dream of his and it just crushes it. And I say that only because, I mean, isn't that also kind of what the first Cars does? Is it takes someone who's very much a hotshot and confident in himself, and it brings him down to earth, and it humbles him, you know, by going to Radiator Springs.
Cars too. I love how McQueen didn't immediately just jump on the opportunity when it was given to him. Like, he didn't say yes. He at first acknowledged the fact that maybe he's taken the role away from someone else, and he acknowledged at
That
first,
too.
like, okay, hold on, I don't want to take anyone's job here. As much as he loved it, I love how he acknowledged the fact that, like, oh, hold on, okay, as long as I'm not, like, taking anyone's job here, because I don't really want to do that. I love that because it really shows how far he's gone from Cars 1.
It's good, and it's a good episode to just not only show how far he's come, but also that he still has a little bit of work to do. You know what I mean? Because
it's the very first episode we actually see Mater being better at something than McQueen is. And we get to see how McQueen takes being second fiddle for the first time.
yeah, and he doesn't take it that well. And he has to stop for a moment and realize it, because obviously he very much cares about Mater. So This episode is kind of a beautiful wake-up call, I guess, to McQueen about really the whole trip, and it's kind of the culmination of it.
I love though how they don't. Like, McQueen is jealous, right? Like, you can tell, like, at a certain point, like, he gets jealous. I love that they get to a. I love how they don't, like, steer his jealousy toward, like, anger-ish. They steer his jealousy more towards sadness.
Yeah.
I like that more. I feel like Cars 1 McQueen would have, like, you know, been, like, throwing things. But,
raging.
yeah, I feel like Cars 1 McQueen would have been cussing and stuff. But
And also, like, I can't really remember what I was going to say, but I just really like this episode. I think it's a really cute episode because, you know, McQueen and Mater get to kind of reconcile or you know, whatever.
I love the apology scene because I feel like
that's
it's
very, very nice.
Once again, I don't like Cars 2, but I think it handled it a lot better than Cars 2 did.
I think that you're right to say that. I think that there are quite a few scenes. I think the relationship between McQueen and Mater is better handled here than in Cars 2. I would have done more with it, but I think it's better handled, definitely. And I think the real kicker is that at the end, none of it matters anyway, because they entirely get replaced and shafted out in terms of an entirely new project, which I think is
Also, I want to
Very accurate to Hollywood. I mean,
I want to say
Exactly.
something. Yes, McQueen. Obviously, we've learned that McQueen is really bad at acting, but I will give him some leeway. Because at the end of the day, right? I blame Vince because Vince gave his line in a very like arrogant, like I don't want to be bothered way. Like he just literally said, like, don't look at me. Like he just said it that way. Like yeah, just get it out. That's all McQueen heard. He heard those 3 words. He never was told how to say it. So when he was saying, he just said it in every single tone, every single like emphasis that he could until he got the one that satisfied them. But all
Don't
he
look
knew prior
at me.
was the words, "Don't look at me." He was never told like the way to say it. So in a
What
way,
are you
get why
doing
he-
here?
I kind of get why he was like jumping from different tones when saying it, because it's not like he was told anything prior. He wasn't told anything more in depth to it.
hey,
I mean,
hey, my man's
that's-
trying to make rent. I mean, I don't blame him. He's all.
I mean that is unfortunately the reality of the situation that they're in, is the fact that the movie's changing from day to day, and even if they gave them context, it would have changed by the next day. So fucking, all you really have is the line. I don't know.
I also like how Mater can sometimes acknowledge his weirdness or acknowledge that sometimes he might be too much. I kind of like how Mater can embrace it sometimes in certain
Yeah.
moments. I like when we're gonna call it Pink Guido like comes and ask him if he can play this character, and then he asks him if he's funny, and then Mater says, "You mean funny haha or funny weird?"
Yeah,
I love that
I
line.
love. Again, I also like that they go for Mater because he's a weirdo. They know he can play the part in a unique way. I don't know.
Also, it was nice to see Jeff Gorvette and Lizzie.
Oh God,
And Hopper.
Hopper.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Hopper from Stranger Things made a nice cameo too.
Yeah. And Roscoe.
Okay,
My favorite.
tell me he doesn't look like Hopper.
He gives off Hopper vibes. That's one of the recolors that really pisses me off. I don't know why. That's something that bothers me in the animation. Like K-Pillar Durev bothers me mainly only in the diecast. This Hopper character, I mean, it's just Roscoe.
I think the Pink Guido also annoys me. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Guido in the background, sure, but like as a main role, like that bothers me.
Yeah, there's a lot of main recolors in here that
You know what also
I would
makes-
still like to get, but they don't.
It
look
also
good.
like confuses me, right? It makes me think. So you're telling me, right? Because from its logic, right? You're telling me that if Guido, as a prank, he would have just asked Ramon to paint him pink, so Ramon paints Guido pink, and then he rolls through the town. You're telling me McQueen and Mater would think he's not Guido in like a random other car, like that, just that easily? Because they saw that car, right? It literally is a pink Guido, basically. They didn't.
I
Like,
mean,
think
they
of
saw a million Guidos jump off the plane at this point. I think they're unfazed, I guess.
Oh, and also, I mean, small mention to the spider car, like with the spider legs.
Banger.
Awesome. I love the joke about CGI.
It is
Oh
very
yeah,
funny.
I love I love the self acknowledgement.
I love how many times they say fakey in this show. I'm like, this is interesting that they continue to remark on how fake the quality of a production looks. Like they do it in Dino Park and they do it here too, and I'm like, that's interesting.
I also like how whenever it goes to the camera perspective, like it changes to widescreen.
Aspect ratio.
Yeah, the aspect
yes.
ratio.
That brings up a point that I meant to say when we were talking about Dino Park, but I never got around to it, is seeing that opening scene with McQueen racing around Willie's Butte. When I watched it again last night, I was like kind of, I guess maybe a little taken aback, because I was like, whoa, this is not in widescreen, like the Cars movies are. It was kind of weird. I was like, this feels cinematic because this show is basically like a mini movie.
Yeah.
When you really look at it, it's a whole arc, really. But it's not in widescreen, and that kind of tricked my brain for a second. So it's nice when you see it used creatively. In
Yeah.
the B-movie. So.
I like it when they did stuff like. I think it's cool when I wish they did a little more, but they try to be very creative with the animation, like the stop motion and the trucks episode.
I wish that they made or were going to make any of the dancing, sparkly yellow zombies from the end of the episode, because I know it's never gonna happen. But in my heart of hearts, that's all I want. All I want is a brain on wheels, just a mouthful of chompers, you know.
I gotta be honest, I hated that ending scene with Cruz. With not Cruz, basically Cruz.
She's yellow. She's yellow.
Cruz with.
I know. I hate to put like a bad word on this episode. I think this episode. I have to consider every single aspect within an episode. At the end of the day, I think this episode would have been my ultimate favorite. It still is in my top 3. But the only reason why it isn't my number 1 favorite is because of the ending.
I don't
Like
really
that whole
care
ending is
because the
actually
arc
like
is
that
already
bad that it ruined
True.
it as being my favorite. It's still top 3. It still is top 3. But just because of that one moment in the end when they bring Ivy back, because we all wanted her back so badly.
I don't like that Ivy is immediately there, only because I think
also,
it
what's the fucking
undermines
contradiction
her
Ivy's
arcs. Yeah.
I find it incredible. They managed to contradict Ivy's wants 2 times.
Yes.
Once
Yep.
with
Exactly.
protecting her land just to abandon it. Once to feel at home with the circus just to abandon them. Like, she just loves abandoning things.
That is exactly.
Yeah.
my
She
thought
probably
on
abandoned
that.
this movie set at some point too. I won't be surprised.
So the real thing that is most egregious about that scene, which I don't even mind that scene that much. I think the most egregious thing is that yellow Ivy with the brain is the image of Ivy that's on the poster.
That's true.
really
I forgot about
confusing.
that.
Like, why is that the image that they chose? Like, oh, who's this yellow car? I don't fucking know. You know,
I think something that would have been really funny if I think this is what they should have done. I think it would have been funny if the film project was bought out by someone, and the person was Chick Hicks and he was the car in the zombie musical.
I mean, I would have loved to see anything with Chick X. So.
And I think that would have
Say no to
totally
that.
been in Chick's character, and he did that because he found out McQueen was in the movie.
That's actually very funny. That's a good. I like that. That's funny.
And it would have been a cool way to bring Chick. The reason I keep bringing up these old characters to show up later, I'll explain at the end. But,
Yes. Yeah. And we're getting there.
yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to mention. I think that's kind of... Oh, yeah, Mator's mom makes a cameo.
True. Very nice. The mothership, as it were. Good episode. Definitely.
I loved it.
My favorite.
It's so close to perfect. So close to perfect. I really liked it.
So close to perfect.
And this is my number 1 favorite episode.
So, on the other side of the coin, now we have Roadrunners, which I think is also pretty darn close to perfect. However, I think it is such a bizarre choice to put this here because it is almost entirely standalone and does nothing for the arc whatsoever.
This
Weird?
This episode feels kind of pointless in my opinion.
It's quite pointless and a little bit out of place, but I think
it would have worked better if it was a. I think it would have worked better if it was an episode like maybe like 1 or 2 episodes before.
Yes.
I just don't think it fits as the episode right before the wedding. Like me
Absolutely.
personally, I think the movie episode probably was the most fitting to be the one right before the wedding
Yep.
episode. Because that one, the B movie episode, kind of feels like it's climax to the whole Mater and McQueen.
Yeah.
Like they don't really like McQueen's insecurities and Mater's insecurities clashing, and McQueen finally being second fiddle. Like that whole thing, and then the resolve at the end. Like
And then
I
they're
feel
just
like that-
fighting. They're just fighting for no reason.
Okay, well, it's not for no. Okay, listen. I don't know. I'm just gonna say it's not for no reason, and I'll say why.
Oh,
If
go
you've ever
on.
been on a road, listen. If you've ever been on a road trip, I don't care who you are on a road trip with. I don't care if it's your girlfriend. I don't care if it's your wife. I don't care if it is your mother. You will find moments in your road trip where you just get frustrated with each other.
Yes,
Like, it
that
just
is
happens.
true.
It
I
will
have
happen.
So
100%.
I really like the wraparound moral of this episode. I think it's absolutely hilarious that they started an entire turf war and they have no idea why. I think that's amazing. And I think
That was
the fact
kinda
that it
funny.
calls
That was-
McQueen, I think it's a very funny setup, and I think the fact that it calls McQueen and Mater's friendship back around, and they're like, well, this is as pointless as our feud is, and that helps them realize that. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic as a standalone piece. I think you could show that to, even without the context of, say, the road trip or whatever. This is just a fun little car short, and it's really good. It wraps around really well. It has a solid moral and a solid arc. I just don't know why you'd put it here,
It's very
I,
random.
I love at the very start when Mater says, "I guess we'll have to agree to disagree," and McQueen says, "I can't agree to that."
That is funny.
I love how it's just a battle of Cars 2 models versus the Cars 3 model. I know it's kind of a mix and match, but
That's such a specific comment, and I love it. I love what you just said. That's really funny.
I feel like a lot of Jeremy is a big Cars 2 model, and then Natalie Certain's a big Cars 3 model.
Well, whatever.
This episode is actually like, I feel like the episode is the first time in anything we've ever seen from any Cars movie where McQueen and Mater are actually like frustrated at each other like at the same time.
True.
Whenever it's like one, it's one to the other, but it's not the same.
Haven't
Or,
really
like,
ever
you know
seen
what?
Mater
This is like
frustrated.
the first time we actually see McQueen and Mater bickering to each other back and forth.
I kind of want to launch into my version of how I would do the series because it directly relates to where I would place this episode and where I would place B movie. But I think
I think I might
there
have
are
a
more things-
similar spot.
I think there are more things to be. I think there are more things to be said about this episode? About like the rest of it before I delve into that. So, I love Jeremy. That's my contribution.
I find it really funny how our favorite characters from the show are voiced by the same person. For me, it's Lance the writer. Yours is Jeremy, and he's also
think
the
that's
same
super
voice
fun.
actor as shoot. How did I forget his name?
Hunter
From the Owl.
House. Yeah. Gotta love Zeno Robinson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I know it's pretty minor. I did kind of appreciate the mention of Radiator Springs in this episode.
When did that happen?
Oh, I'm trying to remember that.
McQueen says it like when they're like down in the pits, basically, like with all the other bumper cars. I think it's something like Chief just said, and then McQueen said McQueen said something like, "We're from Radiator Springs."
Yeah.
Let me see actually, because I'm on the episode right now. I need to see like what exactly it was, but I know it was mentioned.
So I think one of the funniest things about this episode that I don't know, it may not be able to be. I don't think you get it as easily. But the funny thing to me, not the funny thing, but one of the funny things, because I think this episode is just very funny all around. The fact that you listen to the way Jeremy talks, and it's like these are like. I don't know. These are like yoga moms that went out camping and they turned into this. Like they're talking about this like
Wasteland.
they're talking about this wasteland.
Okay, I just got
this
it.
oasis of like it's so eloquent. Like the last resource for our dying hope. And I'm like, whoa, this is so Shakespearean, And they're like, we're a bunch of arts and craftsy campers. They're like, okay, were these people like vegans in cars? Like what?
It's basically Chief just calling Mater and McQueen like refuges from the wastelands, and McQueen says wastelands were from Radiator Springs.
I mean, might as well be.
I
That's something McQueen would have said in Cars 1.
Yeah.
I don't care if we get what's his name? Captain Longleggy. I don't care if we get him. I care if we get a Heyday version of him. I want a Heyday.
Heyday Captain Longleggy.
Yes.
I do too, actually. That's a great suggestion.
He
very
looks so
specific and
cool.
funny,
He
but
looks
I think
so
every
cool.
single person though would be so. I think every single person would be so mad at Mattel if they did that version, but not the present day.
Okay. However, consider you can just weather that model and put him on stilts.
Yeah, but why,
It's
why,
a much.
why would anyone want to go through that effort?
I don't know. It's much easier than like customizing a Dustin Mellows or something else.
True.
Like, I don't know.
I love
feel
the
like it might
designs.
happen just because he was in the trailer, I guess, and he's like relevant. But I don't know. Rough call on that
Captain
one.
Longleggy is like if you combine the Ice Creamer and Dustin Mellows.
Yeah, basically.
It's the ice creamer's father.
The problem is I love Mr. Drippy, but Mr. Drippy to me is the name of an ice cream man. Like, at least in my head, when I think of Mr. Drippy, I'm thinking of ice cream, not water. Because water, I just, I drink it by the gallon, like just straight up, like take a whole gulp, that's more like Mr. Gulpy or Mr. Squirty, So when I think of Mr. Drippy, I look at Captain Longleggy and I want to call him Mr. Drippy, and I know that's not Mr. Drippy, but my brain doesn't let me know that that's not Mr. Drippy, so I look at him and sometimes I call him Mr. Drippy by accident. That's my little dark secret about Captain Longleggy.
Also, I love how the gas station, I think it's literally just a reused building from Radiator Springs.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think in terms of what you're talking about, placements of this episode, I think they should just place this episode like the second episode. And I say that
Very astute, actually.
I say that because they're in the desert. The desert's more.
Genuinely, because why do you go from the B-movie set, which is very, looks like it's not too far from the wedding.
Yeah.
And then they're just in the middle of nowhere. Like, where is that supposed to be?
Yeah, I feel so random.
I think it might have been able to fit like after the Salt Flats episode, just because
Yeah.
That too.
like, they still were like in the middle of nowhere once they got to the Salt Flats, and then they were like rushingly away from the Salt Flats, anyways. And maybe like the feud starts because McQueen's kind of upset at Mater for not listening to him in the first place about not doing it because he nearly killed himself.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll just speak my piece now about what I would have done with the series, because I think it directly ties into this and its placement. So, basically, I would have had McQueen just be way more kind of annoyed the entire season, and Mater's also annoyed, but McQueen doesn't know that Mater's annoyed, and so on and so forth. So, I would have had Dino Park basically be the same way that it is. And so, McQueen is choosing the Dino Park because he's annoyed because Mater chose all the last stops, right? And so he chooses it for himself, and they go and they have a decent time. But Mater's annoyed because this is something that he isn't good at. He doesn't understand the dinosaurs, right? And so he kind of tries to, in his dream, he kind of tries to, I guess make up for that. But, like, we don't see how the dream ends, and so conceivably, what if he, like, what if in his dream McQueen died? Something like that. Like, what if McQueen got eaten by that? And then, when he wakes up, McQueen has to comfort him. So Mater doesn't walk out of that situation feeling good. And then you go on directly to the legend, and so instead of doing Lights Out there, we do the legend there. And so Mater's trying to seem cool to others, and McQueen's kind of annoyed, and he's not buying it. And then we get to Showtime again, and McQueen is annoyed that Mater pushes him with his fear. But, what's also happening is that the implication underneath that Mater's been pushed several times too, like to go to the Dino Park to do other stuff, and McQueen's just not aware of that. And so then we have Lights Out, and it's just a constant like battle of saying like pushing back and forth, where McQueen pushes Mater to stay at the hotel, and so Mater, he's like, okay, he's far more accepting than McQueen, by the way. Like, there's things that he doesn't want to do, but he still does them anyway. without really complaining much. And then McQueen is just always kind of complaining when something is like, I don't know. That's how I see it in the show. And so, you know, it ends up being kind of ironic because then McQueen is the one who gets scared, and he's basically like, oh, well, how did Mater sleep so well, you know? So he's annoyed at Mater for the same reason that Mater's kind of annoyed at McQueen. And then I'd put Trucks there. So McQueen doesn't realize the importance of Mater's friends there either. And then I would put Road Rumblers there. And so that's their annoyances coming to a head. And instead of having them resolve that at the end, what if they had that whole speech where they were like, okay, and put aside your petty differences. It's like super, you know, it's ridiculous. And they understand that, but then and they still don't put away their petty differences. I think that would be funny. And then go from that, because that's a desert, into Salt Fever. And then when Mater tries to prove himself and almost dies, McQueen starts to get it. So when he sees his friend almost die to try to prove himself as something, then he starts to really be like, oh, you know, maybe there's something more going on here that he doesn't understand, because he doesn't understand Mater's dynamic with his sister. And then, of course, it all resolves in B-movie, because then you get to have that kind of like, McQueen was annoyed because he just thought Mater kind of wanted to gloat about being a truck, about sleeping well at the motel, about being super fast, about being a good actor. But then he's realizing, oh, well, Mater's actually had it worse than me this entire time. And so all these things were kind of like really just him trying to be what I guess I must seem like to him. And then that's that way that arc wraps up. And then, of course, just, you know, getting Hitched plays out the way it does in the thing. But, you know, that's just how I do it, because I feel like B-movie needs to be the last one before the wedding.
Definitely.
And Salt Fever also has to be later, because it has such big stakes with Mater almost dying that I feel like it would be a good segue into that, you know? Anyway, that's enough of me. That's what I would do in regards to the order of that.
I feel like your order is more plot-centric. Mine order is more landmark-centric, like location. That's also very fair. Because, like, I mean, you know, the desert areas are more towards where Radiator Springs is, and the east, I assume I'm just guessing, like, Georgia or something similar location-wise.
Yeah, I would believe that.
So, I mean, the circus episode is definitely more farmland, like Missouri or Kansas, like, area. Which makes sense, because that's in the middle. Yeah, I think that I should have... That's my mind going into it, episode order-wise.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you. I was just super long-winded about that because I was thinking about it in regards to the story. You know what I mean?
But, I feel like something else... Should we talk about getting Hitched before we talk about more, or is there just...
I mean, I kind of unfortunately unleashed the gates with that one. My bad.
You're good. I was gonna say, like, I think these episodes also should have been a little longer, specifically some than others.
Which ones are you thinking?
Mainly, like, the wedding episode, the Dino episode, just for more, maybe Radiator Springs portions, but that's just because I'm a Radiator Springs geek. I think I said Software B-movie could have benefited a little bit longer runtime. Specifically those.
Yeah. I very much agree with...
I just realized Jacob left.
Oh my god, where is he? This is so sad.
He's like an hour ahead and he has to go to bed early, so that might be why.
Oh, I hope he didn't... Yeah, I hope he's doing well.
Oh, yeah. He always has to go to bed on this time, so... This is the longest podcast I think we've ever had.
Well, I'm glad to be on it, I guess, then. I mean, there's a lot to talk about this series.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It is a whole series, so I guess let's do Getting Hitched, and we can hitch ourselves out of here, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, they get to the wedding, and Cruz is here. I feel like they just needed to put Crew somewhere.
Well, it's 9 episodes long. There had to have been a 10th one. Be real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was definitely a Racing Center episode.
It had to have been.
Because she's called Racing Center Cruise, and then they took that off.
Yep. To what, Dinoco Rusty's Cruise?
Exactly. It wouldn't be as sus if they hadn't have changed the name. But they did change the name. So she definitely had her own episode. It was actually focused on her instead of the way that she was inserted into this.
I would have loved an episode where we returned to the Rusty's Racing Center, just seeing how it's evolved since Cars 3.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
I just have to wonder how fast they did this series.
Me
Just
too.
genuinely, because
It was first announced in 2020, I think.
yeah, and you know that gives them enough time to work on it. But so many of the changes that seem to have been made seem to have been really fast. You know,
True.
and so many are recolors as well. You can tell that they put a lot of effort into it because it, you know, it looks as good as it does, but also like this is Pixar, and they were tasked with making a whole series. You know, like that's a pretty fast turnaround in the scheme of things, and I think it's reflected in like the marketing and stuff like that, which I think we're also getting to now. I don't know. I like getting hitched.
Me too. It's a fun little finale.
It's fun. I just wish so much of it. I wish more of it actually focused on how he overcame that instead of just them fighting consistently.
I know.
It's weird. It's a weird choice to end the arc that way. I think it's bizarre.
Mater being like coming from royalty, I don't know why. I find that very funny. I just don't like Mato's model. okay. I like the model. I don't like her model being Mater's sister. I don't know. It just doesn't
I see.
fit with me.
I mean, this is a whole thing about car lineage and car parentage that's just a whole big can of worms.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
You know, I like that she's the same color as brand new Mater, basically.
Definitely.
But, you know, it's nice. That's nice.
I assume it probably is supposed to be the same. It's just...
I think it's supposed to be. I don't know if it comes off that way, but I think that's the goal.
Because that flashback scene did have a filter and different animation.
And unfortunately, they went with the filter. I say unfortunately, even though brand new Mater's color is like significantly cooler than Mato's color, but
true.
Whatever.
Mateo, for some reason, I don't like the model choice because, like I said, they used the same model.
It does look like a child, yes. Not to mention the fact that there would be at least a 40-year age gap regardless.
Hey, Holly and Mater happened, so runs in the family.
Yeah, it's there's an image that I would love to show on stream right now.
I think I'm gonna know what image you're talking about. It's like humanized version of like Mater and Holly.
It's okay.
Is that the one you're talking about?
So it's an image that me and a friend made on call a couple weeks ago.
Oh no.
I'm gonna send it in the Skype chat with no context, even though these people don't have it. I'm gonna try to find it. Because I think it's relevant to the conversation we're having about age gaps and cars and the fact that Mater's passport is like 1956, right? Is that correct?
I think so. Somewhere, something like that.
I don't know. It's bizarre. It's bizarre because in Cars on the Road, I think it should also be mentioned that Mater is more like a kid than ever before. Like this is just a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean that in a necessarily negative way. He's just very much a kid, you know? I don't know.
Also, Mate's model, what year model is she? I feel like that also feels weird. Because I think it's like
It
also
also-
drastically different compared to Mater.
Is it older than Mater or younger?
I think it's actually younger,
That would be, yeah. that is
considering
weird
she called
because-
him young baby brother.
baby brother. Yeah, that's. Yeah, that's weird. That is
It.
okay.
I
Where
feel-
is that in?
I also feel like this contradicts the Storyteller's book a lot. with
Yes, it does, and I don't like it.
with Bubba not even being mentioned. Well, I mean I don't know. There's rumors Bubba might be related to Mater or not, but because Bubba I think also means uncle. So,
Oh, that's weird.
but also Mater's cousins not being present at all.
Yeah, I just don't like that. It is, I just don't like.
That's another thing when I mean about Pixar not lately hasn't really been treating the lore of these universes correctly and contradicting their movies with their latest sequels.
Yeah.
And I say that because they used to, because like Cars 2, one thing I will give credit for Cars 2 is that they actually, I mean, Uncle Topolino is technically in the Storyteller's book. Technically.
Cars 2 is much more faithful to the world than Cars 3 is, which is
Yes.
a insane thing to say.
It is weird to say, I will admit to that. I just think it's really just the whole gadget spy stuff that really takes me out.
Yeah.
But
I understand that. All right, I'm gonna send the image now.
I'll see if I could put this. Oh my gosh. Is that supposed to be John Lasseter?
Yeah, that's John Lasseter's face. Yeah.
Okay, hold
Yeah.
on, I need to save that. I have a friend who's gonna love this.
Yeah.
He's not in this group chat. Let me see if I can. Okay. Where? Hold on, where did I say that to? I have like so many folders of each episode. I think I accidentally saved it to one of the episodes. Oh, okay, there it is.
Well, I mean, I think the real travesty of, I guess, tonight has been that we talked about everything all at once, and we talked so long that we could have just made every episode its own podcast, you know?
Honestly, yeah, I didn't think it'd be this long. I thought it'd be pretty
We
simple.
could have, it would have been probably pretty boring, but, you know.
Yeah, especially for some certain episodes. Okay, I'm just gonna hide this.
I love that. I love that that's there now. That's beautiful.
You know, I'm gonna keep it. It's fine.
Yeah.
This
Well,
podcast.
I mean, we're wrapping up anyway.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. I think something else I would probably change is Oh yeah, I was gonna say one thing I also changed with the entire series is when the series was announced, they said returning characters will be introduced in the series.
And it was just Cruz.
I don't know if they also meant the Townies or not. I feel like you could have easily put in a bunch of returning characters in the show. Like, so easily. Like I said,
Well,
you could have had Cal, Bobby, or Brick be at the Salt
I
Flats,
would love that.
all modified, still racing. I think that would have been a nice...
We could have seen the weird rocket versions of all the cars
Yeah.
in real life, you know?
That would make Mattel very happy.
Well, it would make... I don't know if it would make me that happy, but at least there would be some justification for those abominations existing.
Like, Chick... I'm surprised Chick Hicks isn't, like, anywhere. Like I said, it would have been funny if he bought the film company just to make McQueen mad.
Again, Sterling.
Yeah.
Would have been fun. And I do think the fact that, like, there was this one article that was like, oh, there's going to be Planes characters in it, is super funny, because I assume maybe they just got, like, the word that Carlos Alazraqui was in the voice cast. Which I don't know why he was, because I
I think he's just an easy voice actor because he voices Francesco in Disney Infinity.
I guess so. I guess he genuinely must be just an easy voice actor. Which, speaking of which, it's very nice that they got Owen Wilson back.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm a big Keith Ferguson fan just because of the video games.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
he's great.
But like, it's cool. It's really cool to they got Owen Wilson. Of course, Larry the Cable Guy's always easy to get, but
well, that is Mater. You can't really do Mater without him, you know.
Yeah, Driven to Win tried, didn't work.
Oh, Driven to Win tried a lot. Didn't work. It really tried to do a lot that didn't pan out, and it's crazy because I don't know. Just all the voices in that game don't sound good.
Sally's return to the video games.
Yeah.
Like the tuners would have been so easy to put in the game. The show. Just have them drive down the road.
Yeah, that's true. That would have been cool.
So easy too. And we were saying Rusty's Racing Center focused episode. I'm trying to think of like any other.
What if we see Ronald? I want to see Ronald again.
Why am I blanking out on who that is?
Ronald's the fluff.
Oh, yeah.
Which is he's also pretty hard to get. And I really don't care about the Rusty's Racing Center trainees because they all look the same.
Yeah,
but
same.
Also, I would really want a Ronald because he's the fluffy cloud guy. So I don't know. Maybe I'll find a way to get him one day. But he's like at the lowest of my priorities. He's just
which
one
one
of those
is
things
he?
that, like, I have. He's green, I think. Green.
The
spoiler.
green one? Oh, is he hard to get?
He was in like a 2-pack. Let me
Yeah.
look him up. I have no idea.
He's in a 2-pack. Yeah, the training centers are kind of. I do like how they tried to spice it up with like the VR glasses.
Oh, he is expensive. What the fuck?
Wait, he is?
Okay. Yeah.
He was a peg warmer in my store.
Oh, I'm sure he was. I'm absolutely sure he was. There's so many peg warmers that have gone on to be sold for.
This is
It's
the worst.
ridiculous.
Welcome to the Cars community.
Oh yeah.
I hate that the
Who knows
most.
what Cars-
I really.
The Cars community is very interesting. Because it's very much specific little pockets and stuff. It's not as centralized as I think the Thomas fandom is.
Yeah.
Although the Thomas fandom does have its own little offshoots. I think the Cars fandom is much more divided. Not, I guess, I don't know. Not like in terms of fights. I just
Probably
in terms
because
of
probably
where
'cause-
people are.
Hey, our franchise doesn't reboot every 5 years.
Yeah.
Our merchandise line doesn't change.
And that's the reason it's so good.
I mean, sure, it changes companies.
I genuinely mean that because the longevity of the Cars line and the fact that there's so much variety, there's so much collect 'em all.
Yeah.
That's what the Thomas line is missing. It's missing that large, expansive world that Cars is always able to fall back upon. Because it hasn't changed. They did change the track system for Cars on the Road, which pisses me the fuck off. But
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't even do an adapter, which annoys me.
No, and
I would have been fine if they had.
They did the story sets track for so long.
Mhm.
I would have been fine with it if maybe they did the story sets track for like 2 years, and then they switched and they kept switching. I would have actually been more fine with that than the fact that they continued to use the story sets track for so many years afterward, and only now decided to change it.
For On the Road.
Yeah, and they
It's
didn't even
weird.
release that many on the road playsets.
Yeah, they only did. I was really hoping they would do one for each episode.
That would have been nice.
That's why I bought them all. But
I'm in this pickle because, of course, the Salt Flat set is getting harder to find, and it's like, well, do I need to get this to get any version of the 155 scale Super Speed Mater? Who knows?
at this point, yeah. Sadly, at this.
I mean, I want to say I agree with you. That's the way to get him. But also, I want to say No. I want to say they're stupid enough to continue making stuff, and when they decide to make a new diecast, they won't make Wraith Rod. They'll make Super Speed Mater again. I think that's just something that's going to happen.
Target
They're
needs
just gonna
to.
have deal with it.
They need to do more of those gift packs. How have they not done another gift pack?
I don't know how. I love this merch slideshow, by the way. This
Thanks.
is great.
I was going to talk about this as well, like the merchandising. The merchandising that came out for the show was horrible. Because, like...
Very, yeah, the stuff that came out at the beginning was pretty weak, I must say. I expected kind of a big release bomb in the way you'd see it for Cars 2 and Cars 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be as big because those are movies, but, like... It should have been bigger.
It to be its own subline.
That too.
And that would have, I think, given it a real push. But also, I like that it's part of the main line too. I think it's kind of nice. But there's positives and negatives to it all around. But what's really disturbing is the fact that we haven't gotten Cave Mater yet. That's the most disturbing thing about this entire scenario.
Yep. Yep. Like, and also the fact that McQueen is just is the Cars 3 model, like expression. Of course, they changed it, but also
they changed it. I'm fine with it.
It took them 4 months though.
It took them a long time. Well, a lot of things that they still. There's Motto with the flower crown. I don't know. Doug Crankle. I don't even hate Doug Crankle. I know a lot of people hate Doug Crankle because his color's entirely wrong, but also I've just learned to live with it because I have a wonderful custom made by World of Cars Entertainment on YouTube. I don't know if you know him.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good guy.
But... Thanks. I think also it's just because they really only did Circus and Salt Flats.
The first year, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because we all really wanted Randy and a lot of these characters who spoke.
A lot of the characters that are starting to get released now, which is nice at least, but still, yeah, they have so much to do.
When are we gonna get more gift packs? Like even more than just the Target gift packs. Like when's our next Amazon gift pack? Our next Walmart gift pack? Like we haven't had one since March.
I don't know.
Because it's the only way to do deluxes, and
yeah, well, let's think about it here. The way I'm thinking about it in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. There's about 4 or 5 deluxes that they need to do. And I just don't know if it's been a year and a half and they've only released
3.
Well, okay, they've
4.
done 3. That's okay.
No, I think they did. Was it 3?
Well, they did
Ivy.
Story Pack. They did Circus Pack, Story Pack, the Ivy Amazon Pack, and the Peggy Liner online gift pack.
Oh man, you're right. I don't know why I thought there was 4. I think that's because I'm just getting confused with all these larger.
That's actually not as bad as I thought. I guess I was thinking about the fact that the circus one is the only one you see in stores.
Yeah, it's just that it's been a long time, and we haven't gotten a new 12 pack.
I think we need a Wraith Rod. I think we need a new Wraith Rod story pack.
I could totally see them do a 12 pack of like Salt Flat Racers, and then the only exclusive is Mater.
You know, at that point, I'm fine with it. Just fuck it, you know?
I'll just burn all the extras.
Yeah.
Because they're probably not going to sell.
No. Well, what you should do is you should make versions... You should just continue to paint the wheels black and then sell those, and those will sell. Because we know those aren't going to fix themselves.
That's true. Okay, we should probably end this now, because...
Yeah, we should end this before it is too late for us.
Yes.
No, that was ominous. But I look forward to seeing how the Cars on the Road line continues, because it does seem to be continuing at a pretty decent rate for next year, despite not being the main push.
Yeah.
I think it'll be cool. I like this show for none other reason that it brought new life to the Cars diecast line. It really
Yes,
did.
because I got really tired of
this-
racers.
Yeah, all of this stuff is really cool and very, extremely unique. And I've always enjoyed that. I think this story that it's telling,
It's fun.
you know, it's fun. It leaves a lot to be desired.
That reminds me of another thing I was going to say. I think it would have benefited, like I said, episodes being longer.
Yeah.
Monsters at Work, Disney Plus show, it's 22-minute long episodes.
I thought it was going to be like Monsters at Work, and I was so excited, and then it wasn't. And it's so, you know, someone in the chat said it was like this thing that just exists, and it was like peak mediocrity, and it just sort of exists, and that's it. And unfortunately, I kind of have to share a similar opinion with it. But I love the world building that it does, because I've always liked the Cars world. I've liked it more than just the racers. Even though the racers sell the best, the reason why I collect Cars 2 stuff more than anything else, and the reason why I like Cars 2 is because it's so different. I love all the different designs. I love all the uniqueness of it.
I will agree to that for the
like
diecast. I will agree to that for the diecast. They are definitely unique.
So-
Same thing for the Tall Tales.
Exactly, Tall Tales exactly, and that's why I love that we're getting. It's almost kind of a Toons 2, and that's what's exciting to me. Is I feel like I'm on the cusp of like another Cars Toon scenario with new merchandise, and that's kind of exciting. That's cool to me because there's such novelties. You know, this wasn't seen in theaters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are so specific, such specific pieces of merchandise that are only going to increase in, you know, rarity and oddity as time goes on as part of this franchise, because they're not going to stand the test of time as well as
Revo
movies.
costs will be $100 in 2 years.
I hope not. Whoever pays that $100, I really hope that's not the case.
For the amount of times he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the diversity of the stuff that they're putting out.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
as I've said before, I like the weirdos, and so this is my only segue to do a shameless plug. Is I am doing a short film about some of the Road Warriors, including Jeremy, that I plan to release in a month or two.
I can't wait
So,
for that.
That's my little plug for that, because I actually did want to do something with this series. The series inspired me enough to do something very kind of different, but you know, I want to see more people doing Cars story videos. You know, that's what I really like, because we all know that the Cars fanfic writers have always been doing chill stuff. They've been writing a lot of good stuff for, I mean, over a decade now. So
I really
why
want to
not
make
bring
videos,
that why
but
not bring that to the video stage as well?
yeah,
So,
I really
that's
want to
all I
make.
have to say.
I really want to make Cars videos again, but my town, I want to get it nice looking and like very proper.
Yeah, well, it's a new frontier for me too. It's very different working with cars.
I have a 3-season plan thing, and I suck at writing. I suck at writing.
It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve.
Do you think we'll get a season 2 or no?
Good question. If they don't announce a Cars 4 that's really gonna be bad, then we'll get a season 2 probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the creator who did the soundtrack, of course, is just the soundtrack. Did it say there's no plans for a season 2?
I think that it would be kind of asking a lot of Pixar. Because Monsters at Work is actually only partially Pixar. A lot of that is actually outsourced.
That is true.
It's got Pixar creative teams, but I don't think it was animated or
It was
organized
animated
by
by like
Pixar.
some Disney animation studio. Or something.
And so the reason I think Cars on the Road stands out is because it is all Pixar, right?
Yeah.
And I think that makes it better, but it also means that there's less of it, you know. So I wouldn't get any hopes up for a season 2, but I feel like they have to, you know, somehow
they
continue
will.
the line, because they're gonna keep doing it.
Yep.
Unless they
wouldn't-
just end at 2026 for the 20-year anniversary, which I mean I'd be fucking fine with. But you didn't hear it from me.
I wouldn't mind like a short, like a 20-minute short or something that takes place in Radiator Springs.
Yeah, I mean, would love to see it. Would love to see an actual, populated town.
Haven't seen that since Cars 2. No,
Nope.
5.5. 5.5.
Actually, no. Yeah, 5.5.
But, anyways, thank you for joining, Vincent, to Pitcrew
Of course, it was
Podcast.
my pleasure.
Everyone,
Very fun.
subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel.
Thank you. And for those VOD watchers out there, you're looking great today. Anyway, yeah, thanks for having me on. This was very fun, and for letting me talk my ear off. Your ear off, really. So, yeah.
Happy 1 year anniversary to On the Road. I really cannot believe it's already been one whole year.
Happy 1 year anniversary, Queen Lizzie death. Woohoo.
You said Lizzie, and I was thinking like Lizzie from.
Yeah, well, she's still alive.
For
better,
now.
For worse.
For now.
Oh, for now. Yeah.
You never know what they'll do.
They.
Half the time, Pixar will kill off the character if the actor's dead. Half the time, they'll just use pre-recording lines or just won't speak. Or
Cars 4, Lizzie dies.
I don't know why I wouldn't mind that if it was related to the plot. If it was related to the plot.
If it was related to the plot, and the plot focused on Radiator Springs.
Yeah, yeah. And Sally.
And Sally.
Pixar wants to include more women in their movies, which, yeah, definitely. Use your existing ones.
Actually, not a bad idea.
Instead
Very
of-
solid plan.
Instead of creating new ones.
I mean, I think it was a great. I think Cruise in Cars 3 is.
Oh,
Something
I was
that wasn't sure about it first.
I was
but
referring to
liked
Ivy.
it a lot.
I was referring to Ivy.
Oh, yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But I have to say, Cruise was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
very good.
I love
good
Cruise.
character.
I love Cruise. But, okay. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody.
You have a great day.
Bye.